Good evening and welcome to Audio Dungeon. This is the after show. It is a complete show just about the entire saga of Celestial War. Welcome. I am Tony Hansen, joined by the rest of the crew here. Dan Isgro, Roz Pataro, Brooke Armstrong, Damian Skrull, and online joining us from the virtual webs is Richard Wild.
Richard.
Yeah.
So last week, we finished up the entire saga. It was 200 and something episodes. It spanned over many different shows, and it went from a very interesting place. 7 years. If you would have watched episode 1 to the last one, it was an incredible journey. And we're going to talk about it today.
Cool.
So if you could describe the entire saga with one word, what word would you use? Damien.
Epic.
Brooke.
Wondrous.
Wondrous. Rob.
Winding.
Winding. And Dan.
Big.
Big.
Ooh.
Richard.
Chaotic.
Chaotic.
Chaotic. Good
Well
one.
done.
So if you haven't watched it, it's the Celestial War. It's on Spotify everywhere. So podcasts can be found. You'll watch it on YouTube. And again, episode 1 is up there. Watch it through. Have a good time. And there's a lot more to come. A lot of fun things that we're working on. But that is just one long big series that you can really sink your teeth into and enjoy. And a lot of fun characters, a lot of amazing things. And today we're going to go over pretty much like an overview of everything that happened and probably the best of the moments. And Dan, and I think Brooke also were saying they have some questions they want to ask that they've been saving since episode 17. You said that there was
No, not
I
not
wanted
stuff
to
like
do that though. No, well, I wish.
Oh, okay.
I was
Dan.
told that there were dwarves living in the ocean, and I'm curious, what are they mining down there? That was a real question.
It was a real question, and I'm still curious as to what they look like and where they.
Let's start. They look like fishy dwarves. So let's fishy roadies. So let's start off with your questions. Maybe to make it the flow could be what you
Yes.
want to know instead of
Okay.
me starting in places that you don't want to know.
The questions I have aren't necessarily in the vein of comic book guy. Explain these details. But just like
It can be, though. It's
getting
fine.
into your mind, or gaining a little insight
What were you
into
thinking? You sick.
yeah, gaining a little insight into your experience.
Sure. Wow. Okay.
What was the most difficult situation that we put you in?
Ooh,
That's a good question. I like it.
Oh man. It's like you did like a heel turn and like it messed me up.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Just like anything that we may have done, like let's say that was unexpected, and you're thinking like either from one week to the next, like how am I going to advance the story, or if like in the moment, like oh my god, I didn't think they were going to do that. What happens now?
The problems I had. There's some internal problems I had because as I kept expanding the story, I would have most of the things worked out, but I wouldn't have everything. And I had some just small problems. Well, that's not small problems. I had a big problem explaining the convergence, and I had to develop it. And I developed to a point, and then I realized I had to go further with it. And as I kept doing that, I remember I was talking to Teresa, and I go, Teresa, I have no idea why the keeper is called the keeper. I know he protects him in some way, but I can't work this out. And she said a couple of things, and I said, be quiet! And I kept thinking. No, I'm kidding. But she would throw ideas at me and help me get through it. And I would say, so the answer is that there was a lot of times that the story would be opened up to a certain point, and I'd have to go bigger and to make sure it all works out. You know, there's times when you guys in Celestial Engine when you guys when I give you the anything, you know, like the anything moment, like where do you want to go? Anywhere. It's like like in my mind, in moments where I'm looking at you, like I'm scrambling my mind, and I'm like, and I'm trying to make it make sense. I'm running through the characters and what happens here and what's going on. So that happens when you have those moments. I was almost worried when I gave Rob Dungeon Master powers for 2 minutes, but that wasn't. Nothing happened.
I did
1
nothing.
minute.
I utterly wasted those powers.
That was risky.
I was.
Utterly wasted those powers.
Really, just squandered.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Tom didn't go into the portal to when Zerilius on the other side in the Walking Tower. Remember, he was there and he was in Souls, and he said, "Come in," and then that wasn't a mess up. But I remember I was like, "That was the exact right answer, Tom," because it was just a trap. And Tom's like, "Nope, we're not going in," and we get out. And I was like, "Oh, I have to change the whole quest now." When Tom dropped the rod,
great.
speaking of Tom,
Yeah.
I had to like all the things that I had half flushed out. And I was like, okay, but I have to now flush them out.
Right.
So that happens. And yeah, I mean, does that answer the question? Did I answer it?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pretty
good.
much.
There's moments of panic where I have to scramble, and but I rely on the fact that like it'll work out. And there's sometimes in the show where I haven't something happened that throw me for a loop, and I got to think about how it's going to happen. So I'll go role play, and then I'm like, and I think and figure it out.
Huh.
So, what else? What else would you like to know?
Who is an NPC who became much more popular than you thought they would?
Archie
NPC.
NPC.
I know. I'm just kidding. He was like,
NPC became more popular. Well, Carl Linger.
That's who I thought you were
Carl,
gonna say.
Carl Linger. Yeah, Carl Linger was me. Like I know what was going to bother Vin. Like this is going to unnerve Vin like to no end. Just like this kind of personality. But I didn't know it was going to bother him that much. I thought I was trying to annoy him, and then
Right, you thought it was just gonna be like a mild once,
and
like
then
a one time.
and then immediately I saw his
know.
reaction was stronger,
It's
so
like,
I just
oh,
kept
no.
going, and it was just wonderful. And Carl Linger's literally that one character
he
that's
just
like
wants to help.
he's the annoying guy, and then there he is in the last day of 237
Right?
episodes. There he
Epic
is.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I just watched that episode where like he had to call on Carlinger again because we needed to get him to make a distraction. And he's like, yeah. Isn't there anybody else? It's like the one guy that he has a link.
He
No,
just
but
hates him.
there was that, and he was like, "You're the only one. It's just me and you." And then, like when he had to call on him to help us, he's like, he's like the only other guy that we had on the inside.
Right.
Didn't want to do it.
Two Mage, people took the Two Mage pretty well.
Oh.
Two Mage is such an old character, and Jacques, I thought people were going to like him, but I feel like people love Jacques. So, you don't know what the barometer is going to be, right? Like, it just people hit more or less. And I'm sure there are ones that I thought were going to be like Key Lio. I thought Key Lio was Key Lio back in the old quest. Remember Key Lio from like all the way back when we were kids? No? And he was the prince in Ironstone. And I prepared for him to be like an important character, and it's like a guy you're going to rely on, and that's why maybe like every time you see him, he kind of has like a feeling with you, like, oh, he's going to look out for you, but he just never became an important character, and that's just what happens, right? Like you push something forward and it goes in any direction, but you don't know where it goes. So, yeah.
Where do you wish we went that we never went?
That's a good question. I like it.
Charles would say the dark.
The dark.
Yeah,
I
the
was gonna
dark.
say we
Yeah.
never
So
made
look
it
out for
there.
Charles here. Where do I wish you went? In Gnome Patrol Season 2, I want you guys to explore the world, and I thought it would be a good chance for us to like see all the places. I know Richard would say, here they wanted to see that tower. It's all the way at the top right of the map. That was the old Collector's Realm. You guys never went there, and I thought that would have been fun to see the Collector's Realm because there's a lot of like dungeons there and things of old that's just been destroyed and like lots of ruins.
Well, how many different towers did you point out to us on the map? Were there like 3, 4?
Like towers of importance you just never visited.
Yeah.
There's at least 2.
Because you
There's at
put
least
them,
2.
you place them on the map like a token for some kind of like a black tower or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's one I think towards the bottom of the map. There's one on the top, and I secretly placed in the Dragon Wizard's Tower right in the beginning in Season 1 with Phil's choice. Phil chose where that tower went, and then he forgot, and then he started playing Celestial Engine. He goes, "Oh, you son of a bitch! You put the tower in!" Because he said he goes, "Oh, where's my tower?" And I go, "It's on the map." And then he had to find that it was hidden there in the Red Mountains. So it was like the biggest payoff. It was 6 year payoff.
Oh man,
for that.
that's great.
Yeah,
So-
no, I
What
searched
was-
the map and I found all those damn towers and going, what are they?
Right.
We never
I know.
went to one. Like,
Yeah. No, yeah, you never did it. I thought season 2 of No Patrol. I thought you guys would travel around. That didn't happen.
I think that was like our intention too, but then.
But I
like,
understand because if
Just
you guys often the way you all play is I put something in front of you and you want to see it done and you follow and you don't try to break the rules a lot. The way that like Richard and Charles and Oni play, they play like we played when we were like in high school, and how I was the last time I was playing. I play where I'm trying to win, and I see if I can exploit the game a little bit, I'm going to get that magical sword. You know, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And but you guys play for the story, which is the more I think is the more rewarding factor. But I understand the competitive nature, which is how I used to play. So
It's a good mix.
yeah, and you want a little bit of everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and the fans constantly were solving things immediately. Oni guessed the entire last episode.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
He gave the whole thing, and I go, oh damn. I went noted.
I love how you tried to trick us up. You're like, now this is Oni's
Yes,
idea.
I used it against him because it could have easily been the fake thing, and but yeah, for the most part, you guys stayed on to that.
Oni's very
And
smart.
we're definitely going to talk about the last episode because me and Dan had a good conversation the other day about it,
Mm.
and yeah, a lot of things I was very happy for in that episode, but we'll get to that.
Okay. I
Yeah,
have a question.
and
What-
Pelion Doris,
Pelion
Pelion
Doris.
Prime, the Dark Elf realm. You guys never went down there. Bottom left of the map. And if we do like the Pirates of Golden Isles, which is a lot of fun, I thought that was going to happen. That was supposed to be in game.
Pirates of the
that was
Golden
where
Islands?
that was where one of my characters was from, Pelion Prime.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Dark Elf,
Yeah, with the chainsaw and
Sultana.
everything else. Yeah. I like that character.
Yeah, she was
So a part of the adventure of this that we're calling the Pirates of the Golden Isles is basically this adventure that I tried. We did it camping once with Kath and all of them, and then we did it again, and everyone failed twice. And there's going to be this time. It was supposed to be in the whole thing, and you guys would eventually go up against a triad. Notice that the triad was like, I keep mentioning the triad this, but like we never faced them.
We
Like,
never- yeah,
you
yeah,
met
yeah.
them. But like
We
it
met
wasn't
them, right.
important because
Right.
you guys were like, "We'll see you later, Dark.
Right.
This
Right.
place sucks. And we don't want to be here." And then you left. So the triad just became, "Well, we're going to take over." You're like, "Go ahead, take it over. Go ahead." "Oh yeah, we're going to take that over too." "Yeah, go knock yourself out."
we
So-
don't care.
No one gave a shit. So it was in there. So the triad has all these islands on the map on the bottom left. There's all these islands in there, and all the islands have gold mines on them. And again, if you play the Golden Isles, we're going to play this adventure, and I think it's only more fun to know what the adventure is. So they control this gigantic small sea or a giant lake, however you want to look at it. And they have their fortresses, if you remember, on the outskirts of all the entrances into that area. So they got a lockdown, and they're making serious amounts of money in there. And they all have their houses and clans and how they run it. And no one's been able to steal from them because they're the most richest things down there. It's impossible to steal. But again, I've had 2 quests where I already ran them twice, so I know the players and kind of how it goes down. And it's just fun to see if you can figure out a way to get access into the fortresses, and then somehow sneak out there to one of the islands and get into the gold mines, into their vaults and everything else, and steal it and get out. And that was supposed to be a part of the quest, and that kind of got ousted because you guys went down there so fast, and because just the way the story worked out. And hey, Oni, what's up? Oni's joining us.
Oni!
Charles.
Hey.
Charles!
Oni! All right.
Woo!
What's up?
What's
Welcome,
up,
guys. But yeah, so that never became a part of it, and I was excited for that, and yeah, just never made it in because the way it just works out. You know, you guys control where you were going, how you want to escape, and the pace. So
Yeah.
I actually think the reason why you guys didn't spend time in the dark was because you fell and you hit the rod. You were trying. We've got to get the rod out of here. We've got to do this, and
Right.
you never actually went down willingly. You stumbled into the dark. I think if you'd gone down like going, okay, the rod's been stolen. We've now got to go down here and sort this out. That would have been quite different.
they were fatigued from fighting the
Yeah.
necromancer for like 7 episodes, and that 7 episodes felt like months. And it was, in reality, it was like a month and a half or whatever it was. And I think everyone just wanted to get out and see sunlight. And I like the fact that you guys felt that because it felt like oh, that's what it would be like if you were down there and with the zombies and all that kind of stuff. And then when you guys got to the Red Knight, it was kind of like, oh my God, finally! Like, I don't feel like we're being attacked. We're protected by these walls and
Yeah.
these people. And then the quest changes into something new there. So, yeah. What else?
So Jacques was working for the Red Knight, right?
Yeah.
The Red Knight sent him. And I was just, it was like, we became so close. Like, was that a true, it had me thinking, was that like originally, I mean, he was just doing the job because the Red Knight is like the huge strategist, right? Like the long game. So he was like, oh, I'll send this guy to help them. And
So the Red
he
Knight
wound up, like Jacques wound up being with us and like staying with us. And like, did he...
The Red Knight in the quest guided Argon, King Argon, and that was before Audio Dungeon. He guided him a lot, and but he didn't have so much to do with that decision, so much that Argon and Onyx did because they activated Jacques to come out to you guys. Jacques is from Queensland, as we find out in the Celebrity D6 episode. Jacques works in a whole other place, and he's kind of out there. But I'm sorry, that was before. That's before he ends up there, and then he finds his way eventually into the Red City, where he's working for them, and then he teams up with you guys and kind of comes along, for the ride for that. So, is the question, was he meant to do it because of the Red Knight? That's part of the strategy.
Well, no, that's what you said in the episode. It's like, he says he would be sent by the Red Knight to help us in that we had a friend in the town during the occupation.
Yeah.
But so I was just curious, like it kind of starts out where we could have taken to him or not, and it was just like...
And in the beginning you didn't because Dan didn't trust him. Remember
Right.
when Jacques comes in? He didn't.
Yeah. But it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Jacques
he was
like...
He was the first, for you guys, he was like the first adventurer that was really an adventurer. He's like, this is what I do for a living. So, like, you really should listen to me and, like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Because you guys are kind of stuck there. You guys were with Helen and, trying to work on invitations and trying to work it out.
That was amazing.
That's right.
That was amazing.
That's one of the episodes where I did all the graphics and Helen appears on the screen typing.
Yeah, I see.
It's a lot of fun with the graphics. Ooh, Helen! So much sass.
Wait, all the dragon sounds when you find him in the cave, that was incredible. Like
The dragon sounds?
the editing.
Oh, you mean with
the post edits
with Bludgy in the cave?
Bludging in the cave, and when Sunken City is getting taken over. I mean, it was like it's so great. It's so great to hear.
I would love to
way.
do that for everything. It's just after a while, it's
so great. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Question: What was going to be the Rook storyline? Had he survived?
Well, so the Rook is the general of the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
He was basically going to take everything down to Queensland, and you guys would have went into Queensland instead of in season 4. You would have went into Queensland right away. So you wouldn't have taken prisoner. You would have went into the arena. Completely different.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what? Really quick question. Then I have another question.
Just whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. No,
What was the most powerful artifact on Andari that we didn't find? Like in any of the dungeons.
I have
or just on Andari.
That's a tough question.
I have the Crystal Hammer in the game. This is from the old days. Do you remember the Crystal Hammer at all? With Orfeo?
Sounds familiar.
Joe Perry's characters. He had the Crystal Hammer. That is in the game. The Orb of Power is in the game. That didn't come up. The Elemental Orbs did. You guys didn't absorb them as you thought you would. I was kind of shocked about that.
Yeah.
I was like, why aren't they trying to absorb these?
The orbs.
Like, I feel like Oni and Charles and Richard, they may absorb that in 3 seconds, 3.2 seconds. So,
4 seconds.
4 seconds. But you guys, that whole part was very interesting to me. That was a very interesting, like, episode or two when you guys split off. You and Tom went out for the orbs, and the rest of you were back.
They were underwater in like a lake.
Yeah, well, not in the lake. It was in a 42nd layer of hell.
Yeah,
It was
you
the
down.
plane of the dead.
And it was like attached to the wizard.
Right.
It was below the muck. It went
Below-
down,
yeah.
and you guys went down there, and then you saw what's his name's body there.
Cyrus?
No,
No, it was a real no.
what's his name?
Oh my God.
He was what the heck's his name? I always forget his name too, but people bring him up. He was
Red-robed wizard.
He was a red robed wizard that worked as part of the team under Onyx and everything
That's
else.
Cyrus.
No. Cyrus is the necromancer.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but he was down there, and he was basically the vessel for the necromancer. And he was taking over. He had him.
That's great.
The 42nd level.
So that's when that was. See, I thought so. The powerful items was in there. I did not put the deck of many things or anything like in there because the deck of many things always destroys games, and we weren't doing D&D hardcore.
They wouldn't have pulled a card anyway. That would have been too scared.
Well, the rod had the random.
Right. Yeah, we had the
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah.
The rod was a deck of many things.
That was like
yes.
the random thing.
Yeah.
The random magic factor.
I remember that first time we fought Dragana, I was like, this is never going to end.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be here
The potted plant.
all night.
Yeah, and I edited that episode, so if you watch it again, it happens a lot faster, and I got rid of the ones that were kind of meaningless a little bit, so it goes through it, and but that was rough because it was all about you needed to do something that was going to be a curveball, you know. And if you notice, just for fun here, if you notice, all of the battles are specifically designed so that you become more important in the final battles, and the NPCs and everyone else become less important. So the first one is like you're not important at all. You're just there for the ride. And you're like, look, they're fighting Dracano. Take this rod and run. That's what you do. And if you look at them all, like you guys become where like you're with the NPCs, then you're leading the NPCs, and then in the end, just like it was just you guys like doing it at that level. Yeah. So it does that on purpose. So yeah, but the Crystal Hammer was out there. Frag Ratch was powerful. That obviously came into story. And
I'm
nothing
glad
else.
we had 2 mage with us at the end. Because, like, he brought us all over the place for a while there. You know, like when... Like, he was our only like, source
Yeah.
of
We got late.
transportation.
Like, for
No,
a long time, it was just like
seriously.
two
There
mates.
was like
were
a
just-
while...
Oh, two mates could just get
Right,
around.
remember? Like, every day...
He
we
turns
gotta
it
go.
to-
Oh, yeah, 2 mage. He was like the taxi. You know?
Taxi,
Right,
two
yes,
mage.
yeah.
Two mage taxis. That's
He's-
a big thing.
He's a
He
little
did a lot.
he's problemsome for the plot, so I would have to
Yeah.
bring him in and move him around a little bit because otherwise it becomes like you can nightcrawl your way around the whole world.
Right.
So but yeah, it's you know you want to leave those limits sometimes. Like there's moments when you can
it
do
was
anything
good because
or
we were
travel
able
anywhere.
to sort of utilize his power, and he helped us a lot
Yeah.
for that one time, you know. And then it was like, all right.
I
now-
also
know.
tend, this is like a little pet peeve of mine. I always make sure that when you see him battle, you realize why he's awesome. Because it's easy to go like, well, he teleports. Okay, great. And then you're like, but wait, no, he's
There's
a sick
more.
wizard.
right.
So if
right.
the
It's
couple
not
times
just
you
that, like
Yeah, like the battle with the necromancer in the city, I think, in Red City, like he battled a bit. I think that was
Maybe.
him, right? And I think you get to see a little bit of like his prowess, and I think by 2 or 3 times he comes up.
Was he with
And then
Maggie
being
from
saved
Magnolia's?
by
They got together. They had a whole
right,
he had a whole
yeah.
relationship with
Maggie.
Maggie.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
that was. I didn't plan that
Did
at
they
all.
get back together?
She-
Because I know it was
I think
like they were
I
on the
think they
outs.
did.
I think they did.
And I
yeah.
think that she got him out of his shell.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, that was a unexpected and surprising
I love that.
twist of the character, and it took me like a couple minutes to get okay with it. I was like, okay, yeah, he is tightly wound. I didn't see him that way. He is tightly wound. So,
He is. He never knows where he's gonna be next.
right.
I mean, personally, my favorite moment was the creation of Sparky.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all because
Oh,
of
yeah.
Mr. Isgro here.
Yeah, using
And
my
the- and the-
rerolls.
And the
And he-
roll, the roll.
he almost didn't do it.
Yeah.
It got close, right?
And it was such a low probability roll, but
It was, and you
It
could.
happened.
It was a time when I know you felt very guilty in using the luck rolls, the totems, because you didn't want to waste it, and but you felt, you had conviction. You felt it was important.
it worked.
And it did work, and you created a character that became a pivotal character throughout the whole thing.
My
Yeah.
God.
Absolutely.
Did he ever?
Sparky, a character that talking about a character you don't think is gonna do anything. I didn't have a thought about him.
Right.
He wasn't even created.
He was just a stubborn gnome, just grabbing the thing. Don't break it, and he becomes into a rainbow being that's up at the end. That's helping you.
It's traveling through galaxies.
Right, right. And that's the best part of it, right?
And then he subsequently killed him.
Right. That's also true. It's fun to just.
Yikes.
It's when I first used to DM, I used to write everything, and I realized years later that I was controlling it too much. I was trying to control it too much, and also I'd write shit that was boring, and that happens too. Like you just if you guys dictate where you want to go, so immediately that makes the quest more interesting because if you all have that interest, it must be the right way to go because that's it. And just sometimes you have these moments, these characters where you have no idea where they're going to go, and you need to just let them do it. Like Jacques is a purely, if you see Jacques, he's a purely reactionary character, and Jacques hates things that are unnatural. If you know anything about him, he likes his life the way it is, and he lives a life of adventure, and he craves everything to just be normal when he's not on his adventures. And the cigarettes are his coping mechanism, and he just needs to chill out. And so he just reacts to the world. He just lives his life, So you just try to find that path of the character and watch them do their thing. What
was the most dramatic death?
Who was?
In your opinion, what was the most dramatic death?
Brooke's character in the lift.
Oh
God!
Yeah.
Laura Bailington.
Laura Bailington.
That was rough.
That was the most
Big Mouth Bailington.
Yeah.
That's right, Laura Big Mouth Bailington.
I would never. It was hard for me to do, and I feel vindicated. I feel
really was it really that hard?
It was hard because as a dungeon master, I have to be unbiased. I have to be neutral, right?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I had to I'm like, there is no reason why I
Wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't kill this character.
It's true.
Like, imagine I turn around and just kill Botorius. You'd be like, what the F, Tony?
Yeah.
so
No,
like
it
I
makes
had
sense.
no choice, and that's why Dan was sitting. I feel like you were sitting here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I had no choice, and I did this, and Dan goes,
No, but what did it for me was the look on your face. It was like
because you knew because I'm gonna kill her.
you had this look of just like resignation on your face, and I was like,
Yeah.
like you don't get that look on your face very often. You were just like.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Bring the lip back
It was
up.
Like,
like
you're
that.
just like, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I don't
and-
want
He's
to,
gonna
but I
do
got
it.
it.
Oh my god!
That for me, that was a gigantic, monumental decision because I'm killing a player character who will have no choice, and that was why that was huge for me. But it's what had to happen.
It was perfect. It was very fit.
It was great.
It really was.
She opened her mouth. I said later. I go.
Her with Caddick.
I said to you. I go. Is that more Brooke or was that your character Laura? She goes, 50-50. Just couldn't shut up.
Couldn't keep it. Couldn't
Have,
keep it down.
and by the way, have fun with your plan. My God. All you had to say was nothing.
Not one word.
It's like he's also a good guy. Why are you mocking the good guy?
I know. She just needed to say it. It's just like she had to say it.
Good luck with your little plaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like as the character too, she was lost in the sauce. She had no idea.
She was very lost in the
did-
sauce.
But she had no clue as to who anybody was. You know what I
Right.
mean, like there was
Right.
and she had no idea the severity. Like she had no clue. It
Right.
was just all she knew
It's-
was she was an actor.
That's the moment that if like I always imagine it as a TV show or whatever a movie, right? But if that was the moment, that would be like the controversial moment. People would talk about it, like what did he do? Why would he do that? How could he do that? Like he's a knight, and everything. It's just
well, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's like
it was a
there
necessary
was no
evil.
way that
yes,
that could have gone on.
and
No
he's
way.
and he is this is Caddick's father,
right.
right? So and he is like this is the job. And sometimes you have to do the things you don't want to do, and that was
That was a
right.
good
He-
example.
More decisive
Yeah.
than Caddick. Caddick would have.
Oh yeah.
Hemmed and hawed. Oh, I don't know.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes. Yeah,
What did you say? I'm not
can
sure. I don't
say-
think I heard you right. Could you-
Yes. Please say it again. Don't say it.
Let her go down halfway, turn the lift off, and just let her sit there.
Yeah.
While he was trying to figure out what am I going to do here.
Caddick's
Telling his dad it was broken. It's broken, Dad.
Caddick's relationship with his father, I think, was definitely like a special takeaway from the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that first episode, I remember one of the comments they said like, "Oh, I know this is session 0, but they didn't like the control that I had in that episode. They didn't like that." And I wanted to make it like it was a session 0 in the sense of like we're meeting the characters, but you guys obviously had like your say what you wanted to do. But it was very much on the rails, that episode. That was really was like I want to call that episode integrated like storytelling. Where I told the story and then I would just
intro
pass
too, yeah.
pass you the ball and then bring it back, rather than let you play the story out. But also that episode, I can remember every single part of that episode still. It was just such a great start for it, and the relationship between him and his father was just like
Incredible.
It was wonderful. It was so great, and the way he played Caddick was awesome because Caddick was trying to find his place, struggling with the in between, feeling like his whole life was up for grabs, and all that struggle that you play with your character that we messed around with you about because you were always trying to like find your conviction, right? But like that's was what your character was about. That was the point of your character. It was that you're in this darkness. You need to hold your conviction. Can you? And if you can't, we understand. But it's fun to watch you squirm in it, and that's what made it so great.
I hated how his dad treated him. Like, I hated it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
it was
God,
tough.
it was really tough to watch.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very much so.
In that first episode too, I was just like,
yeah, the whole thing, just the whole up until you really start realizing why he's that way,
Right.
And then, but before that, it was like,
did it carry more weight because you saw in the end that he was with great purpose, this whole
absolutely
plan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good. And then
totally
also,
turn the tables on how I felt.
what about in the end? I feel like I feel like your relationship matures in a great way in Knights of Andar because he's looking out for you. And there's times that like you were using the sword. I think the sword was going to be used against you, and your father would just hold the sword up and not attack you. And that I felt like that was I enjoyed doing that part.
Yeah, Caddick was great. I love that. Love that character. As much as I love Archie, in some ways, Caddick was more. He had a little. We had that dynamic, like with his father. That Archie never had anything.
No.
Any serious kind of.
No, they're
Personal
completely
stuff like that,
right,
you know?
family
Yeah.
relationships,
Family issues and
stuff.
things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So yeah, he had a little, and it was, that first episode was very, it was a lot of fun to do, and yeah, everyone. I remember that week after, everyone was just commenting, making fun of Caddick. Like, do you know who my father is? That was the
Oh my
endless,
God.
the endless lines of just like
That was
memes and people
amazing.
posting. Do you know who my father is?
right.
That was amazing, though.
I'm telling my dad.
I just couldn't understand
That
it. I
was
was like,
so
these guys
good.
are clearly under the wrong impression here about who we are and what we're
Right.
doing. And I just,
I actually feel that Caddick made everyone feel for him. Like the way you played Caddick, everyone could look at it and go, "Oh my God, I can." That's why is he being so tormented? He's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And they really felt for Caddick. And then later on, when they realised why the father was doing that, you go, "Oh, that makes so much more sense." Oh, and you have to try and shift your feelings. But yeah, Caddick really is one of those ones that everyone loved him, loved teasing him, loved doing all those things there. Nearly as much as Ofratella, but
You love to
Yeah.
tease him. You love to make fun and do all this stuff. At the end of the day, you love the character. You love
Right.
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you think about how many characters you feel for, and like for Caddick, you feel for Caddick.
feel- yeah.
Even in the end, and the stuff that you went through, like it's like your Knights of Vandar was like holy. That must have been the hardest, darkest crucible for any character, and it was you, and you had to go through all these things, and you were playing. 2 characters or 3 characters at once at one
Yes,
point.
it was Paladin Caddick.
rough,
and
yeah.
OG Caddick.
OG Caddick.
OG Caddick, yeah.
We were laughing about that. We calling him OG.
Putting the hat on and the
Right.
raincoat. Oh my God,
And it was great.
wild.
And then I loved as funny as it was. Again, it's just if you just open the world like we always talk about, if you just open it, let things happen, it's gonna how it's meant to be. The fact that you died in the end of it. And you immediately became like the knightly leader and captain and commander that like you always
It took it took a lot of the pressure off.
right.
Yeah.
Now that you were dead, you were like, let's go. We got this.
It's
There's a lot
such
of
a,
pressure
like-
of life.
Yeah.
That's
such
sort of
a-
the wonder
very true
years.
of
After he
life.
gets cut from the team, he hits a home run in his next at bat.
There you
Right.
go,
And
yeah.
think
It
about
didn't have any consequences anymore.
and consider the arc for those that you get it, but maybe you don't see it clearly. Is that again that kid at his father is trying to teach him responsibility and what you have to do and show conviction, all that kind of stuff, and then he leads the world to be saved while even going insane and still stays the course to the end where he's there in death as a spirit, rallying people on and then bringing them to victory and bringing it home. And
Amazing.
again, these arcs, they're just beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
It's such a great story too. Like a lot of times when you watch whatever, like TV shows and stuff, it's if a character experiences death, it's seen as this like loss of ego. And when you lose that ego, you lose all your
it's true.
insecurities. It
It's true.
all goes away. I feel like that's exactly what happened to Caddick. Like anything that Caddock had to be doubtful about, whether it came from yourself, if it came from your father, I feel like as soon as you died, it all just went away. And now it's like, I can just be Caddock. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about anything else.
Right.
And
That's
your
what it was like.
your spirit was there, and Caddock's spirit really represented his true self, like leading the charge into battle. It's like,
Yeah.
here he is when we need him the most.
The
That's
boy
where he
who
was
wanted
the
to be
whole
the knight
time.
to
That's
do
who
it.
he was
Yeah.
the
Yeah, he
whole
got
time.
there.
Mm-hmm.
He was too
That
afraid
was
to
good.
be that. You know.
Yeah.
When I came
almost-
back, I remember that was like, I know I've said it before, but
Yeah.
coming back in studio and sitting next to Rob as Caddock, it was like very. I fangirled for like a hot minute.
She
I'm
felt like she was watching TV and like
Yes.
watching the actor on TV, and then she's sitting next to you acting, and she felt like, here I am on
well,
the show.
yeah, seriously, but like being next to Caddock, like specifically, it was just he was such a powerful character. The way that it was awesome. He was so relatable. He's so like Charles said, Richard said, you know, he really got you to feel for him.
Yes.
You know, there was so
Right.
many things you could see about yourself too. You know, you just
And-
want to please the people you love, and you just want to do the right thing. You want to go out and shine and do what you feel in your heart to do, but sometimes you just can't.
And it's definitely a tribute to the way that Rob plays, because
Yes, absolutely.
like for Arky, like you don't feel for Arky in that way, but you also are with Arky all the struggles, and like you're with him figuring out. If there was a reality show and Arky was on it, you would be glued into it
1000%.
because you want to see what decisions he's going to make and how he's going to figure it out. And it's the
All
way
Rob.
that Rob role
All
plays.
Rob,
Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah, so it's wonderful to watch. So what were some of other characters or about how about some arcs, other arcs of any character, NPC or
Hogarth's
PC?
arc
Yes.
is insane.
Yes, I think it's amazing,
Insane.
and we discussed that at the end. From, do you want to talk about what you told me about the ending of it?
In particular, what we spoke for a long time last week.
We did. You were saying that like, so I was counterpointing, saying that Holgar's arc is great and even fully complete right to the very last second. And Dan was bringing up something interesting, saying that he felt like that Holgar felt like not of use,
Yeah.
irrelevant
Mhm.
at the point where he made the decision to just back Botorius. Not that decision was wrong,
No, not
just
at all.
just himself feeling that like, well, my time is gone. Do you want to talk about that? Any more
Yeah,
thoughts?
because Hogar's whole arc was like, I'm a monster, and the only thing that I'm good for is bashing people over the head. And so many different times when he went out of his way to try to prove that he was more than that, he just fell deeper and deeper into that identity, and he proved that, like, you know what, I am just a mindless giant monster. And then the biggest turning point in his arc was when he decided to turn away from violence, embrace compassion, and give the rose to the queen. And obviously that led to the relationship between Hogar and the queen. And then as time went on, you know, he went through the Iron Kingdom, and he wound up with the queen at the end. So he really had this strong belief in, like we had brought up many different times, empathy and compassion. And he also saw things from the viewpoint of, like I had voiced many times over the last few weeks, like, we're the good guys here. Like, we're the heroes of Andaria. Let's do more. If we have the opportunity to recreate everything, let's make something better. Let's take a chance and live up to our names as the heroes of Andaria. And it was pretty clear that this was not a very popular decision. So when it came down to that timer, it's like, all right, you guys got 3 minutes, you got 4 minutes. And, you know, Hogar knew that there had to be a decision that was made. He goes, all right, the clear path forward is to hand things over to Botorius. So he was willing to do that. And at the end, he said, you know, I may not agree with this viewpoint that Botorius has been voicing for the last few weeks, but I do believe in Botorius. So you know what? Like, not only was he handing over the decision to Botorius, but he was handing over he was handing over the future to Botorius. And if that's what Botorius believes, and this is what Hogar believes, then there was this acknowledgement from Hogar of, what I believe kind of feels like it's not really relevant anymore. So if you notice, when Hogar handed everything over to Botorius, he didn't really do much for the rest of the episode. Like, verbally, physically, anything. He just felt like, all right, I'm obsolete now. I've handed things over to Botorius. I've handed things over to everybody else. My time is done.
So I counterpointed that, and I understand. But also I brought to his attention, I'm like, remember that, like, in that last episode, Botorius just made a beeline for what he knew was right, and it was the right answer, right? And because of that, and to Damien's credit, like, you focused the episode in the correct way when a lot of time could have been wasted. Like, you saved lots of lives in the group by doing that.
I'm glad that at least one person got to fight in the arena.
Yes!
I didn't
There
plan
was a
on it.
lot of build up to that in the show. It was like, oh, we're gonna have this big fight. There's gonna be a big battle at the end, and I'm half thinking like, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'm gonna be fighting too much.
I think it was fantastic that it was
just in
Rob
general.
who fought and
So
made a speech.
it was
so
great. I was so
Yeah,
happy
it
that
was
we
amazing.
got
It was all 'cause
at
I
least
screwed
that
up the
one
role.
fight
Like,
in.
it wasn't intentional.
That was
that was amazing. Yes.
incredible.
And to see the fight end with Gnome Patrol
Yes.
Yes!
coming onto
that was
Home
so
Patrol,
great.
Home
man.
Patrol,
So
No Patrol
cool.
get to close out like their
Ooh,
arc in a
chill.
sense.
That
Everybody
was
comes
so
together.
cool.
And Jinty's arc, Jinty backs you on No
Yes.
Patrol,
Good
old
even though he
Jinty.
thinks it's a dumb idea.
Oh man.
So
So-
that was
Total
great
chill.
that we got
There
to
was
have that.
there
in
was
there.
there was missed opportunity in that fight, Tony. You forgot what the rifle does as a side effect.
Oh, it's true. Yes.
Oh.
There was a lot on my mind. All I was worried about, I kept looking at the clock, and I immediately saw, like, we were at, like, it was like 9:15, and I go, I know I don't have enough time to do everything we need to do here. And
Yeah.
when you did that, I was like, oh, that's for the best. It's like, because I was already rushing his fight.
Yeah.
Right.
I rushed his
Right.
fight
Yeah.
'Cause it
immensely.
was- I could tell you were like, how many more of these we're gonna have to do?
No, you can't do them.
It was like, oh,
It could
crap,
happen. And there were things that are going to happen that would start breaking down the barrier a little bit, and you would start seeing things. But
Right.
it would have been, you would have wasted half the episode.
easily.
It just would have been a very different episode. It happened. I'm very happy about how the last episode went. To go back to Hogar, I was saying that Hogar backed Damien, backed Botorius,
Yeah.
and he said he felt irrelevant. Now remember, you felt irrelevant in the last 10 minutes of the game. So that's why I argued that, like, you brought it home. You're the one that stood by Botorius in the entire episode, because every time that you willingly did it in the beginning, you went out and you could have fought him in the arena, thinking that, like, we have to fight because this is why we're here. But you stood by Botorius again and specifically didn't fight him at the risk of your own, soul or sanity or whatever was going to happen. And then when you had to back him again later, you had to give up and put your trust in someone else. And you, as a monster, not having control of your own being, which was like your relationship with the Archmage, you had to put your trust in someone else in the creation again of that to happen or not happen, whatever. So I don't think anything about you making your speech with him in front of all the souls in existence in 5 minutes prior to that as being anywhere even close to non-relevant. I just think it's
Yeah, I think to echo that. I mean, you definitely helped Botorius through that as well. I mean, you brought it up too, like because I didn't sort of see it as clearly at first. For me, when it really hit was when you joined me in the arena, because when we went in the arena together and all, and it was like, all right, what are we gonna do? And I was kind of like, no, like we're not fighting. Like we need to free the people, and we need to, this is wrong. What's going on? And that moment when you were like, yeah, all right, I throw down my weapon and I come over and I put my armor on Botorius, I was like, oh my god, for me that was like a huge moment, and that's kind of stuck in my head. But as you pointed out, you kind of were with him that whole episode. Like when I was like, oh, I'm gonna go look for these cells, these prisons where they're keeping the people and try to see about what could be done.
Yeah.
You were like, oh yeah, let's go do that.
You
Like
never
let's
hesitated.
let's go check that out. And it helped my helped me and my character. I
Good.
that was very supportive, and it went along. It wasn't unnoticed. It was
Good.
It was important.
And I gotta say too, something felt wrong about Like, okay,
The
we're
whole
all
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And it
that's
turns
what
out
I was
it
struggling
wasn't.
with, too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
Like we're just gonna march into this arena and fight. And the thing that tipped me off is like, remember when we first traveled there, and we had to write down who do we think is there stopping us and preventing us when we have to fight, and it was nobody because
Wasn't that fun?
In
That
your
was
words,
great.
yeah.
And when you saw that, you were
Yes.
like, "Damn it!"
Yes, and it was like your words were, "That's not the way things work here."
Right.
Right.
So it's like now we're gonna be put in this situation where we think we have to fight, and there's nobody there to fight. We're being put in a situation again where we think we have to fight, and it's just this feels wrong.
Right.
And when
It always-
you had
yeah.
said, "I want to go to the cells and find out what's happening,"
Because
there,
that felt wrong to Botorius immensely. It
going
was
into
like,
the arena.
No,
Not
the
walking
fact
past
that,
the
that people
souls.
were being imprisoned like
Oh, okay,
forever.
okay,
You
okay.
know, like
Yeah.
that was just like, I mean, those guys. I was struggling with it all week of like, what we're gonna do? How am I gonna play this? How am I gonna, which direction am I going? And it wasn't until the night before, I was talking to Richard and Charles online and everything. We were, discussing like what was gonna happen, what we looking for, all these things. And I was telling Tony earlier, like I was like, that's it. I got to call it a night. I got to go to sleep. And I was trying to relax and get to sleep, and it just like hit me, like, no, this whole scenario, this whole situation, like Votorius wouldn't just like go along with what's put in front of him in this kind of situation. It's like there's no way. Like there's all these people in prison. That's going to be my motivation. That's going to be my thing. Trying to right that one wrong, regardless of what else happens, as far as the whole thing, like who's there and who gets to be the leader and all. It was like none of that's important compared to this. This is going to make this the goal. And once I made that the focus and kind of found like that motivation for the character, it was easy to just kind of like
Once
take-
you can make
go-
conviction.
Right. It was easy to like just kind of play it out. It was like, I know where I stand now, and it was like.
And
It
you
just
as
made it easier to kind of go through.
and you as a player for the entire length of the entire saga was basically like you would make your decisions, but always you would err on the side of being reserved or defensive. And this was you completely breaking out of your shell. And I'm going to call this moment back in a couple minutes for the next part, and because it lends credence to another thing that happens. And you completely go the other way, and you're like, no, I am going to defy every single part of everything that is happening completely and just tell you this whole thing is just bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's how hard you went.
Yeah.
And because you did it, it was amazing. And I love the reaction when I said, like, and then reality melts. Everyone was like, whoa!
Yeah.
And that was you.
That
And
was wild.
it was incredible. And it could
That was
have
wild.
it could have happened after everyone was fighting or possibly dying, disappearing. It could have
Right.
it could have been a very different situation. So
Wild.
let's now talk about, this was important to me, the villains. Okay? So I talked about this with Dan privately before. And, oh, hey, what's up, Nash? Welcome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, Nash, what's happening, man?
He's got the Odie Dungeon regalia.
Yes.
So the villains, it was super important to me, as you might imagine. And I imagine no one else would be thinking about it, but it was all I was thinking about. Because I knew we're coming in, like we're sailing into like the harbor, and I like, okay, we're gonna Staten Island ferry it and bash
Docking
it,
the
but we're gonna get it. That's how it happens in 2025. But we're gonna land it in some way. But I was like, I need to get it right with the villains, because if I mess it up, I literally will ruin every single thing that I've done for the Red Knight, for Kanos, and for the Atlas. So it worked out in that battle. And here's my thoughts on it, and you can interject as you guys wish. Is I totally feel that between Atlas and the Red Knight should have won. And I think either Dan or the fans brought up the fact that like he's not at his full power, but I still feel like he's their creator. He will know how to beat him. He's still very powerful,
Right.
and he'll get it worked out. And he also he's been planning for this,
Right.
From the very beginning. So the fact that he won and it got close, and I liked that I gave it out to the universe, and it still came back with the answer I wanted.
It was really close, right?
It got really close
one
to the
roll,
end.
right?
By
Wasn't
two.
it?
Rolls.
2 rolls.
Two
Yeah.
two
Okay.
successes. The Red Knight
yeah.
won.
Sounds right though.
Yeah.
It does
Sounds
sound right. And it means a lot more because I didn't force it. And I never want to force it, the wind. You never want the wind to come in and force your direction. So that happened, and that was great. I loved, and again, if you want to talk about sweating out, like I was sweating all of these scenes. Whenever any villain scene, I was sweating because I need to get this right. And it felt like I was doing a puzzle with one piece at a time, and I'm scrambling to find the next piece. And so when you guys enter and Bardot like leaves and goes, and here they are, and walks out, and I'm like, I won the first round. Like that's exactly. I feel like that was true to Bardot.
Yeah,
And Kanos was there. Kanos is on his game, but also like Bardot has this one little thing on him, like here they are for you, and then Kanos deals with you. Bardot goes off, and the gaps are super important.
Right.
That's the only thing I knew going into it. I'm like, the gaps are super important in this whole thing. And it's not because of any other reason that we need those gaps, because you need to not have full knowledge of what's happening. I like to think that the way that it went down was this. Someone has a lot of background noise. Who's that? Let's see who it is. Oh, it's Oni meeting you.
Oh.
So I like to think that what happened was this. You guys did your own thing. Kanos tangles with the Red Knight, and this is like his mentor in some ways, right? And that battle could go one of like 2 or 3 different ways. But in the end, when Kanos comes down, to me, and I don't know if everyone coincides this or feels the same way about this, to me, it feels like a situation what I really wanted and somehow got, thank God, that everyone kind of won or should have won or has a reason to say, but I would have won in this kind of scenario. So like Bardot jumps into the light and like just for a finale, it once again drives home the fact of I have another plan that you didn't see, and he jumps in. You're just like typical bastard, like he's always a step ahead.
Right.
Even
Once
when
again.
you constantly think you know where he is, but no, he's always there, and that's hard. It was hard for me to play that to keep him there, and I'm so glad that it worked because if you just would have lost, think about how that would have happened. Like he would just be like, what happened? But he did something else that was kind of crazy and kind of amazing, and I'll let you think about that.
Very him.
Very him. You know, where did he go? What did he do? And what did he achieve? Maybe we'll find out. Oh, well, who knows?
What can't you tell us?
What?
What can't you tell us?
Well, those are one of the few things that I'm really not going to tell you. At least not in full. And so he does that, and to me, it was like, check it off the list.
Right.
Got him. And now it's the Red Knight. The Red Knight deserves, he did this plan from the very beginning, right? He's the long game. And he's always been the guy that's been about like showing you that he's been doing things to manipulate things behind the scenes in his favor, strategically, against Dragano and whatever. And in the end, back to that, Kanos walks out and Kanos falls on the ground and just falls over because he's defeated by the Red Knight. But what happened? Kanos could have been winning that battle, and then you guys taking the crystals over could have changed everything. Bardot before that could have did something to mess with him and ruin that victory for him and distract him long enough so that you guys were doing the crystals. Because Bardot only cares about going into what he did. So Bardot would need him to be distracted long enough. So Bardot could have been involved in that. The Red Knight defeats him and wins. So I feel like the Red Knight, because the Red Knight comes down like he's after, very much like the Rook in the end of the first one he comes through. Like the Red Knight comes out the victor.
Right.
Like he defeats Kanos.
Right.
You guys weren't even playing.
Right.
You're off playing with some crystals in the basement.
Right.
And he wins, and then he sits there, and he's just like...
Crystals in the basement.
It was like that.
It was.
And so the Red Knight is basically like, I just won. And what were you doing? But I didn't win? And then he just... And so that's why... And I love that because the Red Knight should win, and he does. Bardot should win, and he does. Kanos should have won, but like he basically had everyone against him, and they kind of like just manipulated the situation. So like he kind of like when you say Kanos, did you have it right? He had it right. He did everything right, and he did this crazy plan that was amazing. But his fault was his expectations of how it was going to go down at the end. It just didn't work out the same way. So everyone has a claim. The only one that doesn't really have that claim is Atlas, but Atlas's weakness was always about his ego.
His dad and his dad.
Atlas.
Yeah.
Atlas about who he was was always about like I'm going to destroy the mortals and those kind of, and he was just hell bent on everything else. And I feel like his hubris was the defeat of it, and like battling his master, in the end, his creator, his
His dad.
god, was like his hubris, and so that's why I wanted him to go down, but I didn't want to control the outcome, and that's why I'm super
Just worked out.
happy and
So good.
satisfied with the way it went down. Like you
And
could,
how sad though for the Red Knights to have to put him down too. Like
Yeah.
that way. Like, oh God.
Definitely.
Right.
Dramatic.
right. So
He could have just
that was
recreated
it was
It
such a
wouldn't have been that big
tricky. Would you say it again?
deal. I say he could have just recreated him. It wouldn't have been that big a deal.
Yeah, exactly. If he would have won, he would have recreated him.
I
So,
love the
yeah, I
fact
was-
that
I
it
was
was
su-
all Vinny. I love the fact that it was Vinny coming up, doing what Vinny does.
Yes,
That turned the whole
Vinny Pro
story
played an
around.
important part in that episode.
Yeah, Thistle of all the things goes. We don't have to fight. Let's just do this. Completely random, out of the box, and you're going, oh, okay, let's just do that, and it's just changed everything.
And how perfect is it that the fact that Vinny didn't say anything before that was great because I made sure that I was like, you didn't say anything, you didn't do anything, right? And I think he thought I was insulting him, but I was like, I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure that
yeah.
you didn't do anything. And then the way he came in now behind Kanos, that was correct. Thistle was just like chilling out and doing whatever he does, and then
no
it
one
just,
ever knows what he's doing.
he just knew what was going on, doesn't care about the situation. And I felt like you know what, I didn't work that out. It just worked itself out,
Yeah.
and that's exactly how Thistle should go out. And it wrapped up the storyline of like Thistle being off on his own and being in another reality in the afterlife. And so like I'm super happy with the episode. It begins with Damien's beeline towards the right answer, and it works off of Oni guessing the plot line, which is great because I get to use him as like as a plot point, a plot piece. Like, it was almost like I set him up, but I didn't have to do anything. I just said noted. And just to
is
say one
awesome.
thing, and then immediately he was right there to tell him, and I was able to use that as like, this is Oni's idea. Whatever you want to say, if you want to go with this person who may be crazy,
and we're like, oh, Oni? Yes, then that must be true.
so that was great. Oni, how did it feel? I'm gonna unmute. How did it feel that you pretty much guessed the last episode entirely?
Oh, that actually happens to me a lot with movies. Ever since I went through film school, and now like that's like I get to the end of the movies and I'm always like, hey, now this is what's gonna happen. And my girlfriend's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was really good.
So,
that's
yeah,
great.
it was fun. It was fun, and I think it was appropriate too. I mean, especially the way you did it. I mean, you made it seem like he might be crazy, and for all you guys know, he could be. I mean, he's been in the dark for like
For real.
100 years.
And that's why it was perfect because he was in the dark that long. He was a sprite. Was he victim to? And he could have been insane. And you were on a hunch, but he backed you up. But also, what is really the scenario? So there's so many things in here that if you would have written it out carefully on paper, erasing things, switching it up, it would have ended this way, and it just worked out. Thank
It
God.
really was totally orchestrated.
And the whole thing that the ending, what Dan was picking up on, which sounds like you were too, is the ending was a tone-deaf ending. And Dan picked on the fact that you don't have to fight. What you bring here is what you do, and then the arena's there. It's showing you the same thing. It was a tone-deaf ending, and it apparently chimed with you in the wrong way. It was discordant for you.
Yeah.
So
Well, probably the biggest indicator was we got told that Kanos built this big citadel.
and I never brought it up.
Where's the city coming from?
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
Well, me,
Pandemonium.
Richard, and Scro was talking about that Tuesday. Here's this. We've been told there's a citadel. He's made the citadel, made it all powerful, but where's it at? Where did
Right.
the city come from?
Right.
So
Right.
Sick.
And that was the clue was the non-existence of where all this is. Why was there a mentioning of it? And the last part 1 and part 2 of the last episodes, the last two before the last one, you're on such a important moment. It just feels like it's important, which is why you breaking it in the end is even more impactful. So yeah. So now going back to Esmeralda, I love the fact that we've chimed in because I think did you just watch it? Do you remember the exact wording by any chance? Did you watch the Esmeralda scene?
No, I didn't get to that.
So Esmeralda said something like, "You'll see something that others won't see," and that's what it was. And it's like, now that's a general statement, right? But what you did in that episode,
Was that?
and adding the fact in that you sacrifice all of your fate points to keep your own frequency.
Yeah, that was
Yes. So, like, did you? There's no way I can even deny that in any fashion because you 100% lived up to Esmeralda's prediction like it was only 10 minutes ago, and that was just
Crazy.
fantastic.
It was
And I said I can't tell. I went to Damien weeks before, and I said you're gonna have a big moment at the end because I felt like the universe was gonna deliver for him, and I didn't know what it was gonna be, but I just
neither.
felt like it was coming for him. I told him.
He did.
And I said, you're gonna have a big moment in the end. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen because that's just how it works out, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
And
like, nerd.
100% rose to the top. It was wonderful. You know,
But that's literally how Damien always plays. That Scro always plays. It's like he holds the hold brother.
I do hold.
It's like he
I like
holds
to
till
hold.
the end. It was perfect. It was like, and it was so great that it was Botorius because I feel like through this whole thing, it's like he's the rock.
he was absolutely
He's
the rock of the group.
the
Yeah,
absolute rock.
yeah. And the dynamics of all you guys and the way you played and the way you think was just wonderful. You know, like you had so many different great conversations and the ways you approach the situations that like. The entire Celestial War is just like it's every episode for the next one. It's just so
It's funny
fun to watch.
because it was a
Yeah,
little scary, even like going into that when we sort of went in and you said like, okay, how do you like appear or whatever,
Yes.
like for a minute, it was up in the air. I wasn't sure I was gonna like
Be
take the
Botorius?
form of Botorius at the end. Like that was up in the air, and it was funny because it was a little scary because that was still when I figured that we were gonna have this battle ahead of us, and I was like, I really know how to play. the newer character, like I know.
You're
how
almost
to-
Travis.
I was like, man, if I went in as Travis, like I'd have my guns and like I would know like what to do and like I knew my character sheet like way better, and and I was like, nah, but I
have to go with Old Faithful.
but I had to go with Botorius, and and it was like,
Yeah,
well.
man.
Botorius probably has more hit points, like that was part of it, like
axes.
that
There's
crossed,
a Damien we
that,
know.
that crossed my mind, like, well, he's gonna have more hit points than
Way better
than Travis, so I
Better
was like, well,
weapons.
there's that, but like I didn't feel necessarily as confident, with the sort of the new system and the updated all that
right.
stuff.
But you
with
knew the
Botorius.
character was more survivable.
But I knew, like, yeah. So and just to sort of bring it full circle, and like I wanted to play Botorius, so I knew like that's where I had to go. But it was funny because there was a moment of like, should I be Travis? Should I be somebody else? Should I be
Yeah.
like who should I be in that at that end? And I'm obviously glad that I went with the route that I did. But
That was great.
but there was a moment of uncertainty for sure.
Who was? We'll
Could have
start.
been anybody.
Let's start with you right here. Who is your favorite character that you played in the entire saga?
Man, it's hard to just pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look them all, but what was your
So
favorite?
many different.
You know what? I'm going to pick, because we didn't talk about it a lot today, but I wanted to bring up Radar and being on the Ark. Those first bunch of episodes in space as Radar, like that was some of some of the most fun that I had. So
Yeah.
that was a good time. So I'll say Radar.
Celestial Engine Season 1 was like me giving Dan the puzzles he wanted, and kind of the fun with that kind of stuff. It's how at the end of every episode, I'm like, that's what you wanted, Dan, right? That's what you wanted, Dan? You got it? He's like, yeah, we're kind of getting there what I want. And I'm like, damn it. I go over to Teresa, I'm like, he's not happy. He's never happy with anything I create.
That's what I asked for Maniac Mansion, right?
Yes. And there's times sitting there and I'm like, I gave this guy Maniac Mansion. And I'm like, Dan, how'd you like it? He's like, we're getting in the realm of it.
I just wanted to be on a space station. I wanted to be the engineer. I wanted to be, Miles O'Brien on Deep
Right.
Space Nine. Like,
Right.
I could have did that all season. Like, yeah, let's just explore and be on the space
Yes.
station.
And
and it was awesome until it still started falling apart. And people
started shaving.
Yeah. So we
And you were-
everything went crazy. But
And also,
it was
the,
an awesome
the
time.
culmination of all that space travel was supposed to happen in the season that was supposed to be happening now,
Right.
Season 3. It was supposed to be you guys traveling and sandboxing and just like you're in space,
Right.
which is a lot of fun. You need to play a space mission. You've never done it like a real like you're in the ship, like Serenity, like you're just in the ship.
Yes.
So it's just so much fun. It's the best. And I thought you were gonna get it, but with what they did, it's just you press the end game button.
Yeah.
There's no coming back. There's nothing I could do. And I remember everyone was I could see that you and Phil were like, oh, was Tony going to make it happen? But like, no, you you blew it up. You took the biggest thing that was in the solar system, and you aimed at the other biggest thing in the solar system, and you shot an insurance bolt. You shot an insurance shot right after it,
Just in case.
and you
It could've
exploded it.
survived one shot, you might have been able to go, well, maybe it was fractured, did this. But yeah, the fact they fired that second shot and put the rest of the power into it.
It was
You're
done.
going, oh,
Well,
God,
look.
really?
Anytime you shoot something that big, you've got to double tap.
Double
Come on.
tap it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Brooke, what
Follow
was
the
your
rules.
what was your favorite character?
Bissia.
Bissia, yeah.
Yeah, she's my first character ever.
That's right.
Like truly.
And it really is your first
yeah,
campaign.
yeah.
Can we talk about like Abyssia's arc and everything she went through for a while?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to hear you talk about Abyssia for a while.
Oh man, well, especially looking back, I breezed through some of the first episodes because I didn't watch the whole thing till the end of Esmeralda. Like I was just breezing through some of them just to get a sense of
The beginning.
yes, it's so great and
And I love, by the way, I love the quests when they're that simple on the first level. It's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite, and I feel like you get the best story out of that too because everyone is fearful and you're what's new and
Yes.
it's really cool in the beginning.
yeah, it was really great and you could see how I want to say carefree because even though we were up against stuff, it was still we still hadn't faced Dragano at that point. Like you could tell after we faced Dragano, it's like who's coming in all haggard. So he's like, brush your hair. It's like, no!
Please comb your hair to that.
We're just gonna get eaten by Dragano now. It's like, but her arc, she went from leaving her family, and you could see, you can hear it in her voice, like she's curious about all these new people that she meets, but she's just wants to go on an adventure as well, and she's out there on the adventure, and I'm out there on the adventure, and I feel safe with you guys, but I don't feel safe with you guys because we're in a world that I
Right.
didn't know.
To be with them is not safe, but also you feel safe by them.
Exactly. And, I had a lot of guilt for a long time after that first battle that we got into, and I didn't heal anyone because I didn't really know what to do, right? So it's like that but it works out, like you say, in the end. But I didn't really realize, like, damn it, I could have healed them. I could have done something, and I think Dan asked
That
at one
whole
point-
battle in the beginning was hilarious.
Oh my
Where Rob steps up near the end, and you guys just lost
Yes,
for no
it was
reason
just- right,
Which
yeah.
battle is this?
outside of the
very
city.
first one outside the city when we get captured.
We're trying.
That was the beginning. Like, here we go.
In the woods.
Like,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So dumb.
That was like your adventure moment. Like, here is the D&D adventure right now, and then you guys got caught.
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
battle.
And there was no reason why I feel like I could have done so much. I just didn't know how to
It was-
use my
yeah.
character at all.
It was dumb.
And then, going through the seasons and watching, I feel like there were times where I was quiet a lot. I was just like so in awe of just being in a different world with you guys. The feeling is just going from someone that hadn't played that yet, at any point, and then being fully immersed into it with some of like the best friends ever. It's it's just it was awesome. It was awesome. And her seeing how she goes from being scared and being this little half dagger, to like
To being like 7 years older and scared.
and terrified.
Terrified out of her mind.
Diapers under my pants now. But to her, like, just taking that shot at the rook and the wizard, like, just no doubt, and like just risking it all, not giving a crap, like just feeling that as long as we were together, put it.
Yes,
remember?
that was
That was the big one.
that's one of the most wild memories.
Yeah.
And that was, it was COVID, so like everyone's like home, and I remember
You cried while you were doing it. It was
I was dying inside.
we were
I
all
was-
shell shocked from that.
I didn't know, but I was like, okay, if this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, because I was so connected to everybody, and I just wanted to protect them, and if there was any
Right.
inkling that it would be my fault because of my eyes, it's like
Because of my
my eyes. It was I got extremely emotional. Hell yeah, that was wild. That was crazy.
Brock, for us, the extreme things that you came out with, that you just go, where did that come from? Like touching the Red Knight's crystal and absorbing.
Oh my God! Yes.
And stabbing the eyes and
That-
shooting the rook. We're just going, oh my god, Brooke, what are you doing?
And Brooke lives in extreme fear
Yeah.
at all the other moments, and then every once in a while she comes up and she does the craziest thing you can do, and then back to ultimate fear.
That's all the pent up energy. It's like, take this now. And I go back. Yeah.
Grabbing the crystal and we're going, Brooke, what are you doing? Oh, no. But it worked. Okay, how did that work?
Was expecting her to be like the creatures in Dig Dug, just.
Yeah, and you were literally like healing up and over. You were over healing and you were over leveling, and you were gonna
Oh my god, I was gonna explode.
you were gonna explode.
I mean,
Meeting
like-
the angels.
Yes, going up at,
Yes.
at a
Yes.
jail.
We were
and,
in prison.
Oh
and
my
that
gosh.
was.
I like that curveball because you were in jail and you went all of a sudden you went up, and I love the curveball aspect of it.
It was
Some of the Earth songs, some of those Earth songs, the way that the songs that you chose, but also how they're interpreted was just phenomenal.
yes.
Oh yeah,
That was a
Talk
good
about being
time.
in fear. Every time she would get upset or mad or worried. I would say, okay, everything you're saying counts, and they'd be like, well, I used 2 lines, but I meant the first line.
It's a real song.
man.
It's by these people. I swear. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Earth Song affected the campaign dramatically.
Oh
That
yeah.
was really cool.
Dramatically.
Well, I also had in the back of my head just how you were always reminding me, like, you have a really powerful character. The bard is like could be so powerful, and
You had the overstacked character with the
Yeah.
powers they gave you.
Yes.
100%.
yes, and I didn't want to disappoint. I also didn't know exactly how to utilize those powers,
Which is
or-
why we gave you the most powerful. That was your handicap.
That's on
Thank you for
purpose.
that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
But it was yeah, and when Hogar yelled at Abyssia, I'll never forget how I felt in that moment for like
Oh, when?
going to hit the raven, like when I put the sock in his mouth, and Hogar was like enough, and that's like when he went off and he just like
Was this?
Yeah.
Oh,
He
this was
left
in
us.
Rhaegar, right?
Rhaegar, yeah,
Holgar threw a big
Yeah.
fit because we were going to torture the Raven.
yeah,
Was what kind of we were.
exactly.
Preparing to
Arthur,
do.
Right.
Yeah,
That was
And
his-
Holgar was like, oh, and that started all the trouble.
yeah. That's exactly it.
And then I had to kill
Oh, you're
Wexel.
so right that he had to kill Wexel.
I always looked at it like
all the
everything
trouble.
was perfect. I felt up to that point, and perfect.
Wow.
Late,
Just
late
put it all
in
on Hogar.
late in
Just
season
all
3.
on
Yes,
Late season 3.
late season
yeah.
3 things were working out great.
It really.
We had the Raven. I mean, it was
Yeah,
after kind of a
seriously?
chaotic season. Let's face it. It started
It
getting.
shocked me. That was when I felt like, yeah,
Okay, Season 3
Damn.
was like you
Oh, damn.
you fell down a mine shaft.
yeah.
It's like 'cause all you could do was fall and try to recover.
And all we do is fall right. That's
and you
right.
guys were just tricked. And Raven was great because Raven was just it just felt for the flow it felt right. And I told Dan I was working the villains off of Dan, who was the most vocal about what the group should be doing, but what really he should be doing for his character. And then when he killed Bludgeon in the beginning, and then he was mad at himself. And then when he went through the whole thing, he saw the loot, and I gave him loot in a scenario that was like testing his resolve and making him have conflict. And then when Raven came up, I was just like, that's why Raven was just like, always messing with the guys, always planning ahead. And then I was very excited to see how Dan's reaction was going to be, which is what really torn everything apart of when you guys caught him. And then I said at the end of the episode, I go, and then Raven does something you thought he would never do. And Dan calls me up. He goes, I know exactly what he's going to do. I know exactly what he's going to do, you son of a bitch. So Raven was like the character that like, it's almost like it was jumbled around a bit because you knew where he was vocal about where he was. So like we're playing against him, but it was wonderful. It made good TV because like he wasn't going to kill him because his morals stopped it. So
He wouldn't let us kill him.
So,
either.
and that's why it was almost an invincible moment for him to give himself up because you couldn't kill him, and it kind of like made him have to deal with it. And it was amazing to watch.
It was.
And then and it somehow split the party from that point, which I didn't think that was going to happen. Of course,
It was necessary. It was so good. It was
He
so-
also had
I'm-
he also had Findalor there to help not kill the Raven.
right,
Yeah.
right, and that split of the party, was giant, bringing you back to season 4. Where season 4 for me felt like Shakespeare. I felt like I was doing like these 3 epic stories. Remember, we just kept going back and forth, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Was that with Rantor? No.
No, that was
That
Iron
was
Kingdom.
Iron Kingdom.
Yeah,
with
Iron
Rantor.
Kingdom. That's right.
That's
that's
Iron
right.
Kingdom, where Rob has no memory of. He's like, what happened to Iron Kingdom?
Relic. I
uh,
remember.
Well,
But season 4,
Season 4 was when Holgar was in the arena.
right?
oh,
No
Um,
Patrol.
yeah, that
No
was.
Patrol. No
Episode
Patrol.
1.
Right. No Patrol comes back. Rob's on his own. He's like
Right.
Raphael after all the other Ninjados died. He's still moving on, doing his own thing. Thistle was out doing the collector's dungeons. Thistle stayed on
Right.
quest
Yes.
and,
He
and
was
kept
the only
going.
one.
And everyone else came back, and I loved it. It just felt like exactly how that finale needed to wrap up. It was a lot of fun.
What I loved was the fact that in that Raven thing, that's when the fans started becoming more popular. Like we were able to influence the story more. And
Right.
Yes.
that's when, of course, you had the prison, then we got to create
Yes.
characters. And we created throwaway characters. Like the characters we created, we didn't think they were going to be lasting. And they ended up lasting and going further and further.
And then
further.
some.
Okay, right, yep.
Some of them didn't last the episode. What do you?
Yeah. And think about and the impact of everyone's characters, were obviously it was immense. Everyone has their moment somewhere. Even with Nash playing Lump in it's like episode 22 of season 4 where he comes in and it's the one where he's literally this simple act, which sounds so simple, is not so simple, of him just bear hugging and choosing to keep doing a super farmer to keep him down.
Yep.
My God.
Was literally
Yeah.
what
That was
saved
huge,
everything.
Huge.
Because and that sounds like a simple thing, but
Nope.
it wasn't. Because
No.
if he didn't do that,
Critical. That
All would have
was-
been lost.
no, it
That
wouldn't.
was
And he kept making the
completely
rolls
critical.
and just holding it down, and
Yeah.
that kept Super Farmer from killing everyone.
And there was
No,
a
seriously.
dog pile on top of that, though. It was Lump did this, then Boturis jumped on,
Yep.
and someone else jumped on. And
Yep.
everyone
Yeah, we all were
was
trying to
sitting there
get the helmet
okay,
off.
well, this works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every little thing matters on the story. How is it going to affect everything else? And it just leads you to where it's going to lead.
And at the time too, also with Abyssia becoming Andaria, right? That was like personally, on the personal note in my life, like I was going through so many powerful things, and it just I thought I was gonna have a heart attack on camera. in that
Yes.
episode. And I could have. I absolutely, I truly could have. Who would have known? But it was so. That was incredibly powerful for me.
That was the end of Iron Kingdom, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also that episode, by the way, you're the box to the side, so it's like we're watching the episode with you
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was crazy. So I mean, and just to summarize that arc, it's like her arc. She went from obviously her arc was about fear. It seemed like, right, fear and like recognition of yourself.
Yes.
And she did that from the very beginning to the very end, and kind of just needed that approval and needed to feel that power. And even in the end, as Ayana, driving it home and being in like your state of confidence was about what Ayana was, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the state that you might have been fearful of the fact that you failed. And I put that out there to see if it would kind of rock you, and it didn't really phase you at all.
Well, it was interesting because I felt like Abyssia always wanted to go out and travel and discover, and she didn't want to leave her family, but then her family was already out amongst the world, and she found another family
Right.
to travel with. And then by the time it got to Ayana, that character was alone and
Right.
knew no one, right? Until we got the memories back and all that stuff was going on. Well, I mean, Ayana knew.
Right.
It was like that, yeah, but
Ayana
it
was like
wasn't
an instrument.
Yes, right. So, it was like even Maya had her family and she had Vigorish, it was like there was always someone else. But like with Ayana, it was just like Phil was like, "This is mine. This is my tree. Yeah, this is my tree." But it was like,
Ayana was a solo act, and she was okay with it, and she
Yeah.
was walking her own path. When before you would have been relying on everybody else.
yes, correct. It felt very different. It
Yeah.
felt very different.
Yeah. And the whole is a little fun fact. And let's go over Rob. Is in the ending you guys changed timelines. Do you remember the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
So when you went to that, when you ended with your friends back in the tavern, that was in a new timeline. And just a fun little thing that doesn't carry so much weight. Just fun to put it out there. Is I hinted to that timeline by Thawen died in that timeline, and that's why Thawen was rubbing the shoulders of like his son because they were seeing each other again. And when Linda went over and put their head on him, like they were happy to
Yes.
have him back.
Yes,
So I was hinting that the timeline was the other one,
right.
Hmm.
that it happened.
Wild.
Yeah, and that's that whole thing was because of your ability to bring you guys into the other timeline and do what you did. And
That was crazy power. That I didn't know what
you could have done anything.
do.
You could have
Yeah.
done anything. But you guys found it in the end. You had ultimate success, and all you had to do is just go and bring your friends and go to a safe place. And then you got there. You did it. So let's go over Archie Finn. We talked about Caddick before actually this timeline, so that's fitting. Let's go over Archie Finn, the infamous Archie Finn. And so as Esmeralda says, which I bring up multiple times, he ends in as Esmeralda predicts in a sense. And Archie is like the ultimate NPC, which we've said too.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like he holds that all the way to the end?
I mean, it seems so. I guess a little bit. Even in the final episode, how
He's still
he's
the
there in
ultimate-
the arena, right there. Going, it's like as they're walking in the dungeon and stuff. You hear in the background now entering Archie
Right,
Finn,
that's
and
right.
it's just kind of right. It's almost like from some TV show or something. It's just like they're mentioning him in the background,
right.
and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he's fighting."
That's true. The most
He's still
epic
making
NPC,
speeches. He's
right.
still fighting it up.
And yeah, Archie was a great character to play. I always said he had his arc ended kind of early, in a way, which was at the very beginning of season 4, right? When that founding of Gnome Patrol, and everyone else was kind of the defeatist attitude, and he was like, no, we got to get back out there, and good's going to strike another blow. And that's kind of how that first episode ended, right? With Jacques' tank rolling out and Gnome Patrol. But then Archie proceeded to hang on for such a long time and do stuff until he finally came to his actual wrapping up of his entire arc. And so it was such an interesting character. There's like 2 acts, I feel, to Archie's character.
There is 2 acts,
right? It is this the founding of Gnome Patrol and post. And
yes, it's I guess it's interesting because when the whole thing went down in the Red City, also that's probably like the beginning of like a different Archie from there. It's almost like you could almost dictate a note there as well, that Archie changed as a person in that day with the group, and then decided to start doing things by himself, and then almost like became like a solo act again.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense for you or no?
Yeah, no, I kind of know what you mean a little bit, right? So that was right after we were in.
And then season 4, you have an Archie Finn that was like, I have to do this. Almost like it's on me because Holgar's going crazy, and you feel like you have nobody. I think like Thistle's off anywhere else, and you felt like the world is kind of left to nobody.
Yeah, and it was kind of like we've got to do something to try and get it back, right? He was trying to get that old gang in some way, right? Whatever he could do.
That's what you did. And you created the next Avengers, like you created.
And it was kind of that was like the next best thing to kind of do, and it was like Archie's keeping the flame going,
right?
And
and then like you say, you have this after thing, which is like, when Archie wasn't like the hero of the story, and now he's a character that's done, just because of how like I don't know what's the right word. How invested you are in the character the second you play Archie, and he just gets involved even a little bit, it just turns into a whole other thing. Where one of the I think it was either one of the fans here or someone asked me, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Like it's interesting that you made 2 stories and they both involve Rob." And then I said, "I didn't do that."
Right, that just happened.
Rob did that.
Rob did that. I go one story was Bellamont came in and Rob chased him, and so I followed the story because I did it, and that led to him getting caught. Got out of the suit and they grabbed him.
Oh my god!
And then the other story was Reggie that you could totally did. So I go, no, none of this was about Rob.
And that was I got arrested twice in the same episode. Reggie and Archie. Tom
Both of them were in jail.
When at that point they were like, okay, grab him, and it was Archie. I think at that point Tom just lost it. He was like, okay, both of your characters in like 45 minutes of each other both just got arrested.
It just shows you the more like similar gnomes you give him, they're all going to go in jail. You're going to give him 4 characters, they all would have been in different jails, different cities.
My one is that role that Rob made though to make everyone leave the wall. That caused Reggie to be.
And you rolled 1,000 on 1,000-sided die.
Oh man!
Yeah,
my
he had to
God.
roll. and
Amazing.
It was the number, and he rolled that everyone left. And you're going, that showed you the power of Reggie. Reggie actually was really charismatic. He just used it for evil.
He was, I mean, at that moment, it wasn't even like evil. Reggie was just like charge. He got caught up in the moment, I guess.
That was chaos.
That was gnome badness.
His
is what that
unbridled
was. Pure and
enthusiasm
simple.
was the downfall.
It was, and then I guess the fact that instead of being more honest, he tried to set up other people in the aftermath, and Glinda He tried to set her up primarily, I remember. Somehow it being her fault. And everyone just turned against him then. It's kind of
It was
dishonest
like
guy.
saying, like Reggie was going, oh, such and such told me to put the explosives in the most important building in the whole of Sunken City, and everyone's
The
going,
mayor's office.
this doesn't work. If you just come out and said, hey, I yelled out charge because I thought it was a good idea, everyone would have gone, it was a stupid idea, but hey, it worked out okay. But you tried to backtrack, and it was just like, oh my god, you're digging it deeper and deeper and deeper.
And you had a character that, again, if you take it along the lines that he was the NPC, and then when you take him into Gnome Patrol, and you begin what I will call your swan song, because you just go, you're. It's like the story is here, is Gnome Patrol, but like, oh, what's Arky doing? I think I really need to find out what Arky's doing. And then if you go down that rabbit hole, it's just a mountain of gold. And it was just fantastic. Like the again, you're sitting here. I think Tom is right next to you, and the whole episode is just Tom like watching the whole time. And the episode with the date episode. Which when we were doing it, I felt like this. I go, is this the dumbest thing we ever did or the best thing we ever did? And somebody said, no, this is great. It might have been Damien. I was like, no, this is great. This is good TV.
We got to do this.
and it was just, Fratella. It was just like, it was the best thing. And like the things, the decisions you make, they're amazing. They're fantastic. It is. I think it's the like in Gnome Patrol, they were gonna have like a fun time and didn't expect to have legendary episodes, and you made legendary episodes.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you stuffed Wiley Wienerton in the closet, like Arky always ridiculed Bellman for in like the last episode before that, and then you do it, and you
claim that he did
and defeatedly you're like, I stuff him in the closet. That's the best thing I got. It's just amazing.
That's the only answer.
And then you would go down and you would go see Briggins, and he's like, "How we doing? Am I almost out?" And you're like, "Well, Briggins is not really." Like, he didn't even spend any real time on getting Briggins out. He's just going on dates.
Right. I'm like, I have dinner tonight.
Like, I want to watch the Adventures of Arky Finn like all day long. I'll watch 25 seasons. I don't care. It was phenomenal. You stuffed the guy in the closet. At the time that he's like, "What's going on?" You murdered a guy, stuffed him in the closet, and then you were going in there. You're going into the main room, and I didn't know what was going to happen when the whole thing with Bellum on you, and you took the decanter, right, and you stabbed him with the decanter, and you killed him there, right, in the throne room.
Was that what I did? The decanter?
Yeah, was there a glass, was it a wine bottle or a glass?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in the who remembers things in the blindness of rage?
Right. I saw Bellamon. That was it.
You killed Bellaman in his throne room, and then the epic thing which made it turn into a Quentin Tarantino movie is when you killed your wife in the back room where the coin was.
Yes.
And you went after the coin, and then you got roasted with lava packs.
Right. At that point, Arky was just like,
my
okay, I'm in
God.
real deep now.
Yeah, exactly.
Just got to get that coin, man, and things will be okay now.
And then you made the wish and dropped the coin after the wish.
That was awesome.
That could be it's a movie in itself, and it's fantastic. It was just amazing. It was amazing.
Right, I did love that. He's holding the
love
coin. I was
the
like,
fact-
kneel before me. And they just, they just open fire, unleash the flamethrowers.
It was the most beautiful meltdown ever in tabletop history. I don't think anything. It was just beautiful. It was just amazing. I could take my hat off 1,000 times, and it was amazing.
And the fact that
yeah,
Fratella actually loved Arky.
And
See,
Arky's
yeah.
beloved for it.
Absolutely.
It was like you sit back and you look at it and Fratella actually truly loved Arky, even though he couldn't see it at the time. It happens later on, he picks that back up. But it was brilliant because she wasn't actually doing anything bad. She wasn't going to go against him, and he just flipped the switch and just lost it. It's amazing.
It was amazing.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yes.
Yes.
I also like the part that after he killed Bellamon, he put on his bloody crown, and waltzed out of the throne room with it on.
Oh my God.
The greatness was many years of, and I understand this too because I again the way I play is not the right way, or maybe it's the way that some people play is if you present me with a town and you leave me to do like, oh, there's no plot line, Tony. What do you want to do? I kind of want to take over this town. And Phil's like that too. Phil will be like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. And Rob's the same way. And then at times we've had them together and they're playing, they're doing stuff like that, and I'm all for it because I'm like, I get it. That's where I do too. And I think that this was like your chance to go for it on the show, and you went for it.
Yeah.
And it was glorious.
Winning that mayor race a long time may have been the worst thing for Archie.
I was going to say that.
the long
I feel
run.
like that's when everything started to go downhill.
That's funny. That might have been the beginning. Of
Yeah,
the
he
end.
had the power. That taste of power.
You went up against the Raven.
The Raven and Carl Linger.
Yeah.
Hey guys, vote for me, Carl Linger.
There was a lot
That
of
was close.
people who thought Carl Linger was going to win. That's that feeling I got going into it, but
I thought Carl Linger was going to win, and when it came back and you won like 60% of the vote,
Mm-hmm.
it was wild. And you were like, "It's a landslide."
We made some campaign videos, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made one as me, and
Yeah.
he did his.
yes, an Enya song in it. It was very
What?
beloved. There was an Enya song featured
Yeah,
in
the
mine.
And
It
you
was-
saw, oh my God, that's right.
I did the Winter Olympics thing where I walked up the
Yeah.
thing.
Only time, right?
Only time.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Of course.
That was
Then
funny.
he tries to be the king with Reggie, using vampires and everything. I'm like, what are you doing?
Reggie.
Reggie. Reggie was like, Reggie seemed like he almost had Archie envy. Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I mean,
They had the
yeah,
same
he
madness.
certainly. What's that?
Said y'all had the same madness.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he had a little bit of that, and he probably looked up to Archie. He wanted to.
I feel like he wanted to have his place, but he couldn't pull it off like Archie.
He couldn't. I think he's just not quite as good as Archie. He lacks
Yes.
some sort of
Yeah.
shred of decency that Archie had. Reggie just didn't seem
Some
to have.
sort of decency.
The decency. He was
I guess that's what's the difference at the end of the day.
One of my favorite moments that I watched at the end after Iron Kingdom, I went home, and that night I was like, we're hyped up on just the thing, and I watched the ending a lot. I watched the talk with Dan and the talk with the Queen, and I do not. I could watch it a million times, and I don't see me and you talking. I just see the Queen and Hogar talking, and I just loved it. And I love the ending, the wrap up with Tom. It was emotional. Tom was crying a little bit because he disappeared because of his character. Tom found out he put himself in the quest, which was cool. And then my favorite moment, which I watched a million times, was when I went over to you in the Spite store, and you put your hand in the Spite store, and then you disappeared. And I love just like how passionate you are with the characters, which was fantastic and phenomenal. It's what made Archie passion is what made Archie so amazing. Tom's was what kind of more defined for Findelar. Findelar is a more of a defined way because you could see him through his promotions, what he went through, and he was head of state, and then he went to being a chronomancer, and his is probably more easy to define. And
The real estate.
starting off with the real estate.
Real
Oh,
estate
yeah.
to chronomancer.
He went from
Path.
selling the land to
Owning.
owning, and then just selling again.
It came in handy though when we got.
He did use it
when
at
we
one
got
point.
Caught. Yeah,
Yeah, he was like, he's right,
we got occupied. He was put in the
right, because he was
the
smart.
building. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him and
got
Helen were a good team.
Tony,
they
can
were-
you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was talking and apparently, yeah. I had to say, you covered all your bases. You had the jail episode. You had the homecoming episode when Botorius went to see his family, and
Yes. Those were fun.
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? And the Carl Linger. Oh my God! I made NPCs to run against Archie and Carl. It was great. You covered all your bases with that, for sure.
It's nice to have an episode where you get everything. And I think I talked to Damien a couple times about this, because we were talking about Star Wars. And Damien was saying that, like, listen, if you want, because you watch a new Star Wars movie and you want to feel the same thing. He's like, listen, if you want this, you watch this one. If you want that, you watch that one. You want this, you want that one. And then when you do that, you relax. The nerd, like, calms down. You're like, that's true. That's true. and with Audio Dungeon, like there is like Nash is saying right now, it's like you do have a different episode, different feel throughout all the episodes. You
Right.
you get something, that we've touched upon, and it has its place, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, like what a ride. What about Thistle? Thistle arc. Thistle arc might be that there is no arc.
That's
Almost.
what I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say.
think
He's
it's
just
Thistle.
he wants to stay on point. He wants to stay on message, and he does.
Yeah.
Right, and that is
And almost
that
drowned
is
in
what's
Task at
special.
hand.
Yes, he almost drowned in Ravensclaw without the fans 3 different times. He kept saying, he goes, yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm dead otherwise, and he just like got carried through. And imagine if he didn't have that. Imagine if he died there. I thought he was done.
So did he.
Yeah, he did.
It was great.
So that was wild.
I think with Thistle, he was always the one that you never knew exactly what he was going to do. There was always something. He'd keep everyone focused, but he'd do something weird or strange, or you'd go, huh? But then that would cause the others to pause and to think about it a little bit longer. And it kind of when he left, that's when Arky sort of went off the rails. He needed Thistle to keep him focused.
Even as Relic, Relic was constantly like against the group and making points and
doing his own thing, kind of.
Yeah, even now, if you think about Relic, how you feel about Relic, it's always it's so
A little dirty.
a little dirty, rusty.
More than a
Yeah,
little,
that's it.
For
Rusty.
sure.
more than a little bit dirty with Relic.
Yeah, and we had these episodes where he pulled everybody. Remember the episode I had everybody leave, and then he's talking to every single person. It was just tense. It was great. There's a lot of great conversations, a lot of great talking points and battling. A couple of times you guys just straight up couldn't decide about things, which is, I think, for me, it's a victory. If you guys are talking, and I've said this before, if I sit back and just watch you talk, I'm happy because that means that it's taken on like you start the fire,
Right.
And the fire is burning by itself. Now you're adding the wood to it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want discourse. And I love the fact that me and Dan had a conversation at the end, and we talked about it for like probably almost 2 hours the other night. And that's a sign of like, good. It ended in a place where you can discuss it, and it's up for discussion.
I like
great.
the points though where it's clear we have no idea what we're doing, so everyone just keeps trying to ask the NPCs to just like figure it out for us. that happens a lot. We'll just be like, 2 Mage, what do you think we should do?
Oh,
And he's
Jacques,
like,
what do you say?
Like, so one of these guys will just tell us a good idea.
Yeah, and that is what happens. The NPCs turn into like, the way for the DM
sometimes.
to get you back on track. Yeah, and that's why having Jacques is good, because Jacques is just reacting. He's not really trying to help so much. Although there's plenty of times he would say something and put you back on
We
track.
needed him.
Yeah, but you guys play the game like this. You play the game forward, and that's what it is. Your favorite show?
Oh man.
Homecoming, he mentioned that. I would always say that.
Well,
That was
that's- yeah.
You could do that as an episode. I didn't mean episode. I meant show.
oh, the whole.
But sure. What's your favorite episodes? The Homecoming episode. What else?
We talked about it before. The episode with the wooden key.
Oh yeah, in the beginning. That was the episode that you didn't know you were playing. At the end, Brooke goes, "I revealed that you guys were actually playing your characters." And Brooke went, "What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What?" And then we went to Paige Diner, and she goes, "What would happen if we would have died?" I'm like, "You would have died." What? Favorite episodes? Anybody? Fans or
Oh man.
I have 2.
The
my-
first one
my
on the
two-
arc I liked.
the arc?
Yeah.
Oh,
in
Engine?
space. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Good.
That was cool.
Also, you know what? I go back to the episode with the show. Was an opera.
Oh,
Oh,
in
yeah.
Arcane City.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, in Arcane
That was
City.
that was a big
where-
episode.
Where I die. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one of
Yeah,
the-
where I died. That's why
Yeah.
you loved it.
Yeah, I died
Yeah,
twice.
that was
I
dramatic.
don't know.
That was
That
dramatic.
was
was
only
when
the one
Maya
episode.
died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When
Maya
Maya
died. Then
died,
Alora
yeah.
was
Yeah.
next week.
Right.
That was
Maya was
crazy
brought back.
episode.
Right, that was when I
Yeah.
tripped.
When like
Caddick
all hell
stumbled on
broke
Maya's
loose,
corpse.
like in like the play,
Arcane
at the
City had a
show.
lot of big visual moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
Arcane City was cool.
in I guess was Knights of Andar with the Ablazing Pyro. Not an opera, but it was more like a.
The
Yes.
Blazing
Well,
Fire.
was
that
good.
was another show that we
That
went
was
to.
good.
you know?
Oh yeah.
That was another
And,
performance.
and they're
that
doing
we
the
attended.
Celestial War, right?
Yeah,
That's what the show is about.
Yes.
That's
The
right.
show of the story.
The
Yes.
Ablazing Pyro.
Was it-
Okay.
I was gonna say we're talking about another performance-based thing. We
Right.
were just talking earlier about how
On the
very-
ship.
yeah, very
we
early
had
on
to
yeah.
perform
ship.
on the ship.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
first
All right.
performance.
Right.
The Blackwater Bandits.
Right. We were
Whenever he had anything with his show is quality episode. Like
Yeah.
that's funny. Even what about every week? Talking about I was saying before, I was saying Shakespearean for season 4 Celestial War was when he's in the arena every week, and every week I felt like it was like a huge moment, like who's going to be in it.
Yeah.
And you had Argon
Same.
there, and you fought Argon, and then
Yeah.
and then the whole battle with Thistle. Remember how tense that episode is?
Oh God.
That episode is tense.
My
It's
God.
wonderful. We thought that you took the helmet of Argon. We thought you took his head.
right.
And everyone was sitting here looking at you, thinking we were disturbed by you, and you were just like holding it, and then finally you put it down, and then I think Vin was like, "What do you have in your hand there?" And you were like, "What? I just have the helmet." And they were like, "Oh!" Everyone thought you were just standing there holding his head, having a conversation. And then
No, I hold his head because I'm holding it. Cause
yeah, he's like, "No, I'm the helmet." And then my favorite, I think, it definitely within my top 5 is the Quirkle moment.
Frag Rash.
Yeah, Frag Ratch, and he gives him the sword. It's just like, like.
Yeah.
And Dan likes it because he feel like it was the first time Holgar affected the story, but it wasn't because of like him directly or fighting his way through it. It's because of how he treated somebody.
Yeah.
And that it came back to like yield dividends.
I loved when Tom becomes the elven tree.
Yes.
Becomes a tree to.
In the end of Nights.
Yes, End of Nights. It's one of my favorites when Dan's the necromancer. Oh my God. When it's Hutch. Oh my God. That's one of my
Hutch.
favorite episodes too.
Yeah, that was wild.
I love it.
And it
Love
almost gave you guys were catching on that you said to me like, "Oh, is he gonna become the tree?" And I was like, "No, it's just a sap and everything else." But yeah, it was that's the end.
But just like how it had to happen, how it happened.
Right.
It had to. Amazing.
Right, that was good. So
And,
that,
and no matter that it was just the -6 or -8 hit points.
oh my
that,
God, that was, and we've had close calls, and all of them fall away because that is now the closest thing ever. When the only reason that the bad guy didn't win, the bad guy as in Dan, as the necromancer, is because he hit him with energy that happened to heal him by like 4,
Right.
and it put him
Exactly.
right back into the
Amazing.
positive.
Yeah.
It was the exact same
was
numbers. Like it
crazy.
needed.
It was
That
completely
so
out of my control. It was done by a player, and it was the big bad, and it was.
amazing.
You can't get closer than that than dipping into negative land, coming back up. That was wild. That was amazing.
That was a close
Was it fun?
final fight.
Was it fun to play the necromancer again?
Yeah. It was. And then at the very end of the episode, OG Hutch was back, right?
Right. He's
Yeah.
sitting. He's sitting in the Chronomancer's tower.
Right, at the table.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you walked in.
Ooh,
We ended it
chills,
there. He
chills,
walks in. And he's just
yeah.
like, "Hey," and then just like it's
Yep.
like it's kind of like a dark ending when you end like a horror film.
Yeah.
Like it's not him, but
Yeah.
it's also.
It's
My,
him.
my favorite superhero birth of Sparky for sure, and anything with
Yes.
Crawlinger.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
The birth of the. Where do they come from? Characters. Amazing. Oni, Charles, Rich. What do you got?
I like the one where Findalar dropped the rod in the whirlpool.
The
Where
first
he
10
just
episodes
held
are a
it
tight
over.
10.
Yeah.
He like held it over, and the guy was like, "Don't do it," and he was like, "I'm gonna do it." And he was like, "You're not gonna do it," and then he just like, whoop.
He
And the
wasn't
guy
bluffing.
dove in for it.
All those thieves are all fools. If it's like, see, that's why I hate all the thieves here. They're all idiots.
He's right.
He was right. Amazing. Charles, what do you
Right about a
got?
lot of stuff.
Anything you remember?
I like the episodes with Soma in it, down in
With who?
the Shadow Realm.
Soma?
Oh, Soma.
Soma.
Yeah, Soma was wild. That's like Brooke's. I think Brooke was very invested in the story, but Brooke
I
can't
was not.
stand Soma.
I was not at the table when she was around.
Want me to do the
No,
noise?
please don't.
Just once?
Please
Okay,
don't.
I won't do it.
I just don't like the visual. I don't like the idea of her. I don't.
Well, I hate
I
to
don't
break
like
it
it.
to you. I hate to break it to you. That
Is she
was
the mother of the
Oni's
Glegan dots? Because that makes sense.
No.
No, I invented that one.
That was
Great.
That was Oni's monster, but I have a monster in mine already, similar to that. I didn't talk to Oni about it, but
Well,
it's
I
similar.
thought
I'm like,
Charles had made
holy
the
crap.
Duck.
No, I made the
Oh,
Gligan
Gligan?
Dog.
No,
I'm
the-
talking about Soma.
The Soma.
Soma.
Oni made Soma, yes.
Yeah, Oni
Thanks.
made Soma,
Great,
but
Oni.
I've got one that I've made that is similar to it.
We look forward to that, Charles.
I feel
We
like
look forward to
I don't
finding
look-
that,
I don't look
that
forward to
character
it.
in
Nope.
the future.
Nope, I'm not playing.
I loved how much Brooke just hates the character. It was beautiful.
I can't stand
I
it.
feel like
can't.
me and Brooke have like very close movement in the show. Like I convinced her to cut her eyes out, and then I made a character she hates, and then it's just like
You're affecting
Listen,
Brooke on
every
many
time it
levels.
was something
Yep.
Brooke.
Yep.
Richard, what's your episodes?
I have to go with Ofrateller. That is one of my favorite episodes ever. I keep going
It's
back
so
to
good.
it and going, that is so good. Rob is just
Night Court.
beyond amazing.
Night Court. That's the episode.
Night Court, that's
Yeah.
right.
Night
Oh
Court.
my
Yep.
god.
It's
We were
the
killing it
whole
with those
thing.
names.
And you just, I can visualize it even now. I can just still see the eye patch and going, why the eye patch?
and that's what I'm telling asking, why are you wearing this? He's like, oh, it's the fashion. And,
You didn't have it on before.
you don't need to take this stupid stuff off.
Didn't you like compliment her pustules at one point?
Let's not forget Top Hat.
He said it's the latest fashion.
The funniest thing that we learned about Arky is that Arky was always like saying how delicious she was when she was trying to give her a compliment. You're like, you're so scrumptious. Like you were saying.
Remember when I kissed her, he was like, lammy.
You're like,
Did you have lamb for dinner? And she's like, why are you asking me what I had for dinner?
It was just brilliant. The other
He
one
didn't even
was in Amwa where you guys lost the memory.
yes, that's the one that
know
Dan
who
was
you
saying
were.
before.
Yeah,
Oh, meat.
that is brilliant too because you didn't have
Meet Murphy.
Oh my God, Meet Murphy. There's a campaign for a small time. What would Meet Murphy do?
WWM.
And of course the other one was anything to do with Corny. How
Oh,
Corny
yeah.
was just the bane of everyone's existence until Volt decided to take care of that, and that created the whole Crystalborn saga from there. It was all
Right.
because of Evan the Ancient. So yeah,
Evan
no,
the
it was.
Ancient.
There's so many that you can just call back on. Yeah, like the funny thing is like the whole exchange thing where I came up with the idea for that was from Tom, because Tom was always going, we just need more information. We need more information. We just don't have it. I'm going, well, why don't the fans create something on the side that can help feed him the information? And that's why you'll find if you go through the episodes, Mister's always helping out Findler, always there in the background, always feeding him the information, and that's where it came from. So that's
Where
the
would
whole
we have been
reason it was
without the
created.
exchange?
No, and the exchange pops up in
My
a couple
God.
times in
Yep.
different ways, and it's good because they're kind of like the secret, like on Society
Yeah.
of the East, so they just pop up a little bit helping out. So that's good.
Well,
that's awesome.
That's
that
amazing.
if Doug could do anything about that, he would. I mean, like everywhere Doug goes, he just talks about the exchange.
That's true. That's true. Doug, one of the players, he just keep mentioning the exchange.
It's the banking industry. It's okay. It's banking deals. That's what it is.
That's
I mean,
fine.
we're bankers. We don't know what he's talking about. Like everywhere.
He said, what are we talking about? The fact they're in the exchange, guys? What?
Hey, I got this T-shirt made up.
What? No, it says exchange, not. I changed the letter.
Yeah, we keep on saying that. We keep on having to throw in there, think, no, it's how we exchange money, or we do this, and we go. Well, everyone else is thinking on their feet, and he's going, no, we report to such and such, who's part of the exchange. And they go,
Stop talking.
Amazing. What?
"That's just great."
What? Okay, favorite show out of the whole saga.
That's really hard. I like Celestial War, and I like season 4 of Celestial War. I think that was
That's one of my
when
favorites.
everything just went crazy. Like you had everything from
Because season
like-
4 was a lot to wrap up and move forward, and it's just like chess pieces moving towards the conclusion. It was a lot of like fun tension and big moments. 4 is definitely one of my favorites, and I don't know personally which show is my favorite because I like them all.
I know they're all so different.
Yeah,
I mean, the reason
But,
I liked
like-
4 was because you had the demons, you had the time travel stuff, you had the
but as a show though, as a show,
Yeah.
Iron Kingdom was fun to play.
tell us about Iron Kingdom.
You know, I'm not even sure what character I played in Iron Kingdom.
I did like Iron
No, I
Kingdom
was
too.
Arky. I'm pretty
You
sure
Arky.
I was
The
Arky.
reason why you remember it is because in Iron Kingdom was like the in between for the first one. So you played the area
Arcane
of
City
time
characters.
in between where everyone when the Arcane City characters like left.
Yes. The only thing I remember from Iron Kingdom is when Bellamon came and took over the Sunken City, right? Because Botorius and Arky
Right, so
were
Iron
living
Ki-
in Sunken City.
Yeah, so the first season is just
Right.
the time in between when they left. We filled it all in, and then remember we ended with when Tom had fought with Dan at the end of season 1. He fought with Dan. Dan doesn't agree with him. He goes, "Okay, I go to the future." And then Tom's like, "Oh, it's been so long. Like now I agree with you."
I was just going to bring it up, yeah. And then because
great.
he asked Hogar to join him, and Hogar's like, "No, leave. I'm never going to talk to you again." And Tom's like, "All right, I traveled to whatever it was, like 10 years into the future." And he goes to see Hogar, and he asks him again, and Hogar's like, "How long has it been for you?" And he's like, 10 seconds. He's like, "Okay."
And then the beauty was that he tries to go back in time, and I go, "Nope," because the madness was eating up, all of time. And he's like, "Wait a second, did you plan it the whole time?" And I was like, "That is the end of the episode."
What happened between Hogar and Findalar that Hogar was so upset with him, though? I can't remember. What did he do?
I felt like it was ramifications from before. That was Iron Kingdom, so it was from the end. It maybe it started from the whole thing in season 3, from there forward. Maybe you guys weren't on the same page,
I don't know. I feel like it was something more than that.
because that means that you didn't have the battle in Iron Kingdom yet, obviously. So the only big battle before that was the original ending with the Queen. You know, the Queen doing the rod and such.
Yeah, I wasn't upset with him, though, at that point.
It had to be about.
I'll have to go back and watch the episode.
There was also a thing in season 4 where you were just on another page. Remember, like you guys saw each other, and then you fought with Quetzal. Thing happened in the Red Knight's crystal layer, and then you kind of went on one of the airships back. You just kind of left the group again, and people were like, "Oh, he's just not changing." You were just like feeling guilty about yourself. Oh, you killed Argon,
Right.
and everyone knew that. And you were doing a lot of things where like you were constantly. Optically, you were just saying one thing and doing another, I think. I think that, and then that was after the whole thing about what you did in the Red Kingdom in season 3. So I think that's what it was. My guess is what it was about.
But I feel like something happened, like during Iron Kingdom, where we had some kind of exchange.
You were on board the ship.
Wasn't that something about the Red Queen?
Oh. Well, no, you could be right. The Red Queen was very upset with the fact that you killed Argon, and she's right. It was a much bigger point.
Yeah.
The Red Queen was like crying that you killed him,
Yeah.
and you freed her, and she was like, "I hate you." She was like mad at you. Remember?
Maybe. But what did that have to do with Findalar, though?
Was
I think it just
Probably
deepened.
during
No, it
the
was
time.
something
Moves.
else. It was something else.
It was
Yeah.
probably during the season 3 time when he came to see you, that you were still mad at him from Ravenclaw. Probably when that was.
They
And
didn't see
then-
each other again though. When you split
Yeah.
up, you didn't see Tom again until season 4.
wasn't Iron Kingdom after Arcane City?
Yeah, right.
So I mean, like, Findalar was in charge of the Arcane City, and you did attack it with a bunch of giants.
But
Well, he didn't attack with the giants. The giants
No.
the army you started continued.
right.
Right.
But
At that
but I,
point,
but I
Hogar was
specifically
still-
remember there wasn't like there was
Wasn't
something
it-
specific that Findalar did that like offended Hogar. It wasn't like like Hogar did something to Findalar and then like Findalar was upset with Hogar. Like Hogar because Findalar was coming to Hogar for help and Hogar was like, "No, get out of here, leave me alone, we're done."
Isn't it when you like teamed up with Kanos?
To
And
kill
then
the
he
Chronomancer?
Yes.
But again, like that would be something that's something that
Another thing you did that was wild.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's something that like Hogar did that would offend Findalar.
Right.
Yeah, but
there's
maybe because
Was the
Findalar
Chronomancer?
wasn't understanding Hogar's plight. Like,
I don't know. I gotta
You have
watch
to
that
ask
episode
Tom to
now.
see
I
if he
gotta find
remembers.
out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
I wish he
hard
was
to say.
here, man.
So real quick, what's your favorite show? If you have
God,
to
it's
choose
so
one.
hard.
Probably Iron Kingdom, I think.
No Patrol.
No Patrol.
Knights of Andor.
It's a Vandar.
All of it.
What?
All of it.
All of it. Well, that's a good answer.
I can't choose, man. I really can't. Although I loved Arcane City though.
Arcane
I'd go
for me.
right now.
Arcane City season 1.
Yeah.
Celestial War season 4. They're all fun, but season 4 was just I just liked how epic it was. Gnome Patrol season 1. Iron Kingdom. The first one, I liked Iron Kingdom 1 because it was very interesting. The season 2, when you guys went in and battled his ego, was a lot of fun. That was interesting too.
Yeah, that was great.
I also enjoyed being a guardian of the forest too. In Iron Kingdom.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I like that being in.
And that was your story. You were finding yourself, trying to find peace, and like you were like it was talking about how you were always making these hardship situations for yourself, like putting up your own obstacles and such.
Yeah.
And you had
being in the lion's realm
yeah,
with Flinster.
Flinster.
Flinster,
yes.
Finster. Oh my God, that whole scene was
And
amazing.
Rantor.
Rantor.
Right. It's kind of like you're living like the never-ending story or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly how it felt.
Yeah.
I picture cherry blossoms around all the time too. I don't know why.
Whenever I think of Flintstone, I picture it too. It's like very
Yeah.
Whenever I think of Flintstone, I also think of Rob and how mad he was about Johnlin.
Oh my God.
He goes, "No, it's a great name, Johnlin."
That's right.
What's wrong with
That was
Johnlin?
Super Farmer.
Super
Yeah,
Farmer's name.
Super Farmer's
You read
name.
Johnlin, and yeah,
Johnlin.
just
He was really just disappointed.
pick
in me.
anything in the world, and that's what he
If you picked John Linton, then
Linton.
you would have liked that.
Well,
anything with a
That's-
ton
that's-
at the end
that's-
of it.
That's Dan's that thing.
It was originally, weren't you going to call him Jonathan originally? And you really had a strong reaction to Jonathan. Jonathan?
Then you went John Lynn, which
The angel of death is named Jonathan.
He wanted to choose a name that was like the most boring name.
Right,
I shouldn't say that. There are many people named John. John's a wonderful name. He wanted to pick a name that he felt like a John Doe is why.
right,
Yeah.
I
a
did that
simple name,
Least
not a destructive
descript.
name.
The least of script. So like that's where he went for John, and then Jonathan didn't feel right, so like John Lynn, and then you were just very disappointed. He wrote off the rest of the quest at that point. He checked out. He's like, John Lynn, what is
This
this?
is ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. I was with you
can't
with
believe-
angels,
Yeah,
demons,
John Lynn.
crystal rods. Oh, I'm in. But John Lynn,
You've gone too far.
A bridge too far.
funny, really funny. Okay, another thing I'm going to talk about before we go in a little bit. Is there any other questions you want to ask? I will answer any question about the entire saga, anything that you wanted to know. There are very few questions I won't answer, and they pretty much have to do with the ending.
Wow.
The Queen and Hogard.
So the Queen and Holgar could have, went off to do their own adventures. We never explored that. Never
What were
went
those
into it.
adventures?
I don't know, it's kind of yet to be written, but I would think that the adventures are on another planet, and it's kind of them in a party and then meeting other people and kind of just like, like living a life where you're
Oh my God.
just trying to like maybe like raise your own family or just be together and kind of just seeing what you can accomplish today. Almost like being a hero, but like being a hero with no like grand cause, just trying to like, live a life of something that you feel is on the path. But anyway, but it's not written, so that's just me. My weight carries I don't have any weight in that story because it's
Okay.
something that we would play one day. Maybe you would play or it's not written until it's written.
What was the results of that, the end of Knights of Andor?
What do you mean?
Like seeing those people at the table, seeing... Who was at the table? There was Hutch.
You mean in the Chromancer's Tower?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you mean the results? So you guys were sitting there, and it was the other version of you, and
Right.
and it was the versions that were untouched. The vibe of that was off is because we just left you as being this crazy necromancer, and there you are innocent again.
Right.
And the contrast was the play.
Right.
Um,
But did anything happen after that?
no,
Nothing.
no. It was you, and you didn't have the memory as the other one had, or you had a sense of it or not. But I don't think you had a memory of that.
So that Hutch was the Loyal Hutch.
Good old Hutch.
Ah,
He wasn't
blacksmith.
Yes.
Blacksmith Hutch.
He wasn't
Not
the
Knight
overpowered warrior. He was just the.
That whole thing was amazing. The fact that you would never. Remember, we put him on
Never,
a camp.
ever
We put him on a
call him.
fishing trip. It's just like ahead. How would this go down? And you're like this. This felt really good. This is really nice.
That was crazy.
We still have the video up there. I watched that recently of when you're trying to stop Rob from touching your mug. And like if he touches it, like he gets to just do something, and you're battling him like this. You're keeping him away from it. That whole season was that was season 2 of Knights, and I think that was probably the best season.
Yeah, that was good.
And unfortunately, yes, that had Soma had the death of Melissa's character.
Ruby?
Yeah, Melissa just put herself in I feel bad about it because I gave her the option to kill herself in a sense by telling her like, where you jump in, you want to jump in the middle, or you want to jump in on the sides. And my inflection, she just took one of them as one of them's the wrong answer, one is the right answer, but I need her to tell me which one it is. And she went down in the middle. And I think that she didn't have a way to stop or to go on the wall. And then everyone's like, yeah, well, that's why he pointed out which way did you go down, and then it led to her death. But then also there was a lot of ways she could have came back, and it just didn't happen. I think 4 different ways.
No, a lot of people tried to re-roll and stuff. Nothing was going on.
No, the fans re-rolled the next day,
Yeah.
and like everyone rolled. I gave everyone
Right,
here a roll.
right.
Yeah.
They rolled, and even the thing to try to pull her back, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're risking too much to bring her
Yeah,
back."
there was someone who was not that keen on bringing her back. Who was? Someone was just like, whatever.
Well, that was in the moment
wanna
where you guys were seeing
say-
her. Remember, she was in like the crystal, and you
Right.
could have brought the spirit back, and you had to stay. But the rock was falling down, and it might have been Tom and you.
I'm pretty sure Tom was like, nah.
Tom
Tom's just like,
Nah.
eh.
Tom saw that it was going to risk the party to stay,
Right.
so
Yeah,
he let it
yeah.
go. And then you got King Argon back there, so King Argon made his return.
Right.
Yeah, that
It was
was.
one of those things that it was literally, but you did roll it to go, okay, we're not doing that, we're going to carry on. Then you rolled it to see if it would have worked, and it wouldn't have worked anyway. You guys would have been killed and trapped. So it was the right choice. But yeah, it was one of those things that caused problems.
Yeah.
And Worm Wedge.
Worm Wedge.
Worm Wedge.
Yes.
Yes,
That was
Worm
the best.
Wedge.
Worm Wedge. Amazing. Amazing. Yes. Lots of amazing episodes. Lots of ups and downs. It was definitely a blast, and like I have just such good feelings about every part of it. Every story had its own thing, and again, the story is meaningless because I put it up, but in reality, I probably write like less than half of the story because everything you guys do it in, you turn it and change it around and twist it, and you add such color to it that it brings it to life. So like it was a pleasure to play that story with you guys, and excited for everything that we do, excited for things that we did do, and excited for the legacy that we leave behind with it. So a lot of the fans were asking me what is coming next. So I'm going to share that out with anybody who watches this episode.
Oh boy.
So the Celestial Engine system has been completed for a while now. We're doing tweaks, and a lot of people on the screen you see right here have been helping me, and doing a great job. And we have a webmaster who's been working on it since October to put it into the website. So eventually what's coming is the first version of it, which is going to be the manual version where your character sheet will be there. There's a whole other character sheet for you when you're wearing a suit, which you can activate it to change your stats automatically by a button.
Cool.
And put it on it. The skills are there. I'm not going to say the other features, which I'm really excited about, but I've told you individually what those features are about, like between sessions, if you remember, that I'm just very excited about. And you'll be able to do your entire character right there on it. It'll be released in a digital form, and eventually it'll be a book in the future. And eventually what's going to happen is, no matter what we play, we're eventually going to play that storyline with the system using that. But there's going to probably be like a gap in between, and we'll see what we do. But I have a story, and you guys can opt if you want to play this or not, of course. We have a story that is not a D&D story, and it is more akin to like a Shutterfly Island kind of story. And it's going to be a 1 season, and it's going to be indeterminate amount of episodes, maximum 12. It's not going to go past the season. But I would say it probably falls between like 8 to 10 episodes. And it's going to be a show where it takes place on Earth and normal situations, things like that. But it's a mystery. And you guys will wake up. I might even want to give you the first scene if you're interested. You wake up basically on a train on like an island with no memory of who you are. And you'll have to figure out in 7 days why you're on the island, what happened, what's your purpose here, and what you need to do to escape or otherwise. And you guys won't know what your classes are. And there'll be a list of classes that the fans are doing for you guys. And some of them are like a policeman, an investigator, a gambler, all these different things. A doctor, all sorts of different classes. You're
I've
going
got
to be.
a couple of them done, so we're going to
No,
have
no,
like a
don't-
brawl.
don't-
Do you want to know the classes?
No, don't, let's not
Okay.
give them all away.
Yeah.
So it's basically if you played one of those missed games and things like that. If you what's the movie that
Knives Out.
Knives Out?
That's like a mystery kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like a
Clue?
murder mystery.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Clue, and it's gonna use the light system. So like it's kind of like we're just doing like in between. So when we play Celebrity D6, we just use the basic version. So you're not gonna have a whole load of skills. We're just gonna play the simple version, and this is about the role play. And it's gonna be a lot of mystery. This is all about clues, noticing the way I start you up, and you're finding things in the distance, and you're traveling, and it's gonna be something that you have like a certain amount of days to figure out the mystery and figure what's going on. And that's what I have planned for coming up. Is this something that you guys would want to play?
Sure.
What movie are you talking about?
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island is what comes to mind a little bit. That kind of feel. It won't obviously. There's no. I'll say right off the bat. There's no illusion of like like in the story for those who know the movie where it's like, oh, it's really this. Like it's gonna be. It is real. There is no magic. Nothing like that.
It's just the clues you have to follow. To
It's just it's
reveal.
a straight up mystery.
Constant revelation.
Like, and then there
Yeah.
were none.
I can't think of the movie that I'm thinking of. To tell you the truth.
This is gonna kill me.
But the point is, like, where they pick up in the middle and the character doesn't know what's going on. Like, at
Right.
the
So
beginning,
the
character's
characters,
just like,
yeah, like we don't really,
What-
we don't
Right,
really
you're-
know
you're
who
all
we
gonna start-
are, but
Like you're gonna start with items on you. You're gonna start in this train, in a situation on this island, and I'll tell you more about what you
gotta,
find
like,
there.
figure out.
And you need to start just putting the clues together and figure it out. And you'll have puzzles. I have a couple that's done already, and just figuring out what's going on. And you need to do it within a time, which you'll find out in story why. Just like a very different and fun little thing. And that week,
Dan, think Resident Evil 1, the start of the video, where she wakes up and she's in a house and she doesn't know who she is, she doesn't know any of her abilities or anything, and you've got to figure that out as well as figure out what's going on.
Okay.
yep. So
Little Born Identity,
oh yeah, there's another one.
right? Born Identity. He's like,
Character
he
doesn't
doesn't,
know
Born
who-
he
Identity
doesn't
is kinda
know who
like
he
that.
is
That's
at
a good
first,
one.
and then he's got to like figure it out, and he's like, I don't know.
yes. So yeah. Is anyone? I know you're here just for today. I don't know if you want to play or not, but is anyone not going to be playing anything further right here? Is anyone taking a break after Let's Do War? Let me know, because otherwise I'm writing the story and I would keep you out of it. Lenny's going to join us.
Think I might
Cool.
have to take a
I figured
break.
that, yeah.
When is this gonna start?
I would probably start it next week or the week after.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because I would want to end it before the summer. So we can figure it out what you guys want to do if you want to play that. If not, we're basically waiting for the Celestial War system to come online, which may come on in a few things. The fans want to play the Golden Isles, and there's a bunch of things we could do. But we'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. Any last questions before we go? This is it.
I have a
Good.
question.
Bring on the next one.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we gonna get to see the ending to the Spelljammer campaign, or
Oh,
does
yeah.
that promptly end
Yes,
with the
that's-
end of?
Oh yeah, we talked about that. It'll just be like a Sunday because that's easy to film. It's like a one Sunday deal.
We're
that
gonna
we can
do
just
it.
Yeah, you up for the Spelljammer to finish up that
Yeah.
the robot?
Sure.
Were you again?
Oh, yeah.
Nomington?
Nomington.
Nomington.
We could never decide on what number he was. Nomington model
Yeah.
something. 2000,
I know too.
3000.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Some people are like, should be not, smaller. No.
Yeah.
Nomington.
Everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to see what events lead up to Tom vomiting
Oh my
Vomiting
god!
astral
All the
crystal into
crystals.
Jacques'
Right.
mouth.
Oh my god!
We need to know. And we left it at a cliffhanger where Dan's father, the king, is in the room
Oh
with the
man!
bad guy.
Yes, yes.
man.
Yeah.
Just one request: if we could do it without the lights moving in the background, because I just thought I was gonna.
This?
man.
No, remember we had like the disco
Oh no!
lights on.
I'm gonna do it right at the table.
I was like,
That
throw
production
up.
was rough. That production
Yeah, it
was
was
difficult.
tough.
It was cool because it's interesting. It was different, but
Yeah.
like we'll just play it here, and then it'll be like a 3 or 4 hour play like last time. And I liked the bite-sized episodes. A lot of people kept commenting that too.
Yeah, that was fun.
Because I edited it up, I was like, "This is really short." I go, "But it feels fine." Like 17 minutes, you think it would be like too short, but like you watch a TV show, it's kind of the same way, right?
Yeah, and I always press
23 minutes.
notifications for when the next one would come out because I didn't want to miss it. It was like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
needed
yeah.
to see it. I needed to see it.
And it's different because we're always used to doing live, so it's fun to do something that's in the background and then kind of post it.
Yes.
Lightfall will be like that too. We'll post Lightfall when it eventually goes. The things we did with the kids, which eventually got to do.
Oh, forget it.
They
Nobody's
ask me about that all
asking
the
me
time.
all the time.
I know.
I told her, this is
It's
the
edited, done. It's just you have this weird gap at the beginning where it's a problem, but it's
Oh,
fun.
man.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's. I love
And
it.
some
Shit.
characters, and one character makes a nice appearance in there too. 2 characters.
Novi was very nervous when I said that this was the end of the saga of Celestial. She was like, "What? What do you mean? We can't come and play? But I want." And then I said, "Well, you could. Yes, you can always come and play." I said, "Well, you'll play another. Oh, okay, I can be another character." I said, "Yeah, if you want to be.
Yeah.
This is
She can
gives you
play
a
it
chance."
in the one-off. You said you want to play one day where it's just like you play for nothing. You just play like
yeah.
around the table
yes,
at home.
Yes.
So we
Oh,
could
she'll
we
love
could,
it.
Yeah, we could do that for fun one day.
Okay.
She'll enjoy that.
Maybe Mike will play too.
Yeah, he should.
Family, get the family going.
Yeah, make it a family thing. So that's what's coming up. I think the mystery will be a fun thing. Lenny from the studio. I don't know if he's been on. He was on the Celebrity D6 one, but not on a weekly one.
think so,
He's
yeah.
going to join and play. He's a longtime D&D player, and he's a lot of fun. We played with him, with
Cool.
that day. So we're going to do that, and it'll just be a fun quest. I know the fans are excited about this idea. They helped create it together. And then, look out for Celestial Engine for those that have watched the entire Celestial War saga. The system is done. It's just been tweaks, and we just figure it out. You're going to be able to see your character, do the armor. There's actually artwork on it that's going to appear when you make your characters.
Awesome.
It's just so much fun, and we're just waiting for it to get through. Richard is doing a lot of work with the webmaster on it, and Charles is, as always, working on all the bad guys and everything like that. So, I think that's it. Dan's locked out. Any last comments?
No.
Guys,
Good
nobody
riddance.
wants to
That's okay.
Good riddance. Oh, he got
There
it.
you go.
I'll let you guys can end it out here at the table. Anything you want to say to anyone
boy.
who has just watched the entire saga? Anything you want to say, and then we'll kill it.
Thank you.
Okay, great. We'll see you later.
Thank you
guys.
so much for watching. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah, seriously, the idea that there's people that have watched 200 something episodes and
200
really
something.
enjoyed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
237.
237.
Awesome.
Wow.
Unreal.
Room 237.
It's a lot of shows.
Hey. Sorry.
It looked like you made us
yes.
wait for your cough.
No, sorry.
I was gonna say something that was incorrect.
Anything you want to say to the fans that have watched the entire thing?
You've been on a long journey with us. It's time for you to rest.
Don't always say
For 1 week.
That's what you're gonna say.
That's how I feel. Thank you for giving us the permission, Dan, to now rest.
Yeah.
Do you feel better? They told you you could rest?
Yes, I feel like you're like Tony Stark and Pepper. Like
Brooke needs to
It's
get.
okay.
Brooke needs. Speaking of trains, Brooke needs to get off the train for a little bit.
I said my thank yous last week, so now I think we
Yeah.
can say it's been a journey.
For sure.
Yeah, awesome.
Just an acknowledgement of the ride that we all went on together.
yeah,
Yes, a lot of
a
fun.
ride. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us today, guys. We appreciate it, and
See you soon.
we'll see you soon. Hopefully, in something in the future, guys. Thanks a lot. Peace.
Good night.